the Orca squad training out of Cape Town. Young athlete with enormous promise now, appearing on the world stage and certainly looking set to seize the opportunity and make the most of it. As you mentioned, Ivan, for a lot of these youngsters, this is a first glimpse of racing at an international level, and they'll all be a bundle of nerves, but this is an accelerated learning curve for them. A lot of composure and a lot of maturity you're seeing in the bunch there, because that is quite a tightly congested front bunch as they race up to the top turn can.
Yeah, it's very tight. You see the girl in the black boat, they're just struggling to find her niche there. Should be moving up behind the second white boat, behind the Hungarian. You see her bow in the air, it's going uphill. She's been going uphill for quite a time now.
And struggling, yeah.
And it's gradually going to go slowly worse and worse for her unless she can get settled. Pink boat of Argentina moving to her left, trying to find a V, which she has behind the white boat.
Interesting, there's 4 boats strung out to the left of the lead boat. So as we're coming up to the turn, that first turn can journey is going to be an interesting one.
Seemingly a well-organised group at the moment. That's a long shot, camera angle. There's not that many in the front group. Things just picking up just a little here. A little bit of a flurry. 2 Argentinians left in.
And there's Molnar back in the water. Well done to her. But really the start that she would have filed with her worst possible nightmares. Paddle clash and then a swim right early on the first lap.
So she's currently about 1.5 minutes probably behind the group. You'll see the group coming into shot. And that's her view up the lake. And that is a bleak, bleak view for her. And away go the women's C1. They've been on the start line.
So running a look over the women's junior C1 field. Francesco Vigorito of Italy. Tunpong from Thailand. Mo Tunpong. Candela Romero of Spain, alongside another Spanish boat in Nerea Novo. Imola Batka in the Hungarian colours. Sutimon Chiatamdi of Thailand. Fantastic to have 2 Thai sea boats on the start line. Helene Price of Germany and Maya Lolika of Denmark.
So Hungary lead this one, as we're very used to seeing in the past.
Nerea Novo of Spain sitting alongside the Hungarian. Romero in the blue C1 on the left of your screen.
Interesting, with Portugal as world champion. I think last year, Beatriz Fernandes, maybe she's aged out, but no Portuguese in here at all this year.
And an impressive start from Tunpong of Thailand, who's in the dark blue sea boat. Imola Batka, certainly holding all the cards early on in the women's C1 race. Their race is 3 laps, 2 portages, and then the 1 small lap down to the finish.
So still a 4-boat race in the C1s.
Mirror-like water, Ivan. It could not possibly be better for the junior women.
So Deng Mo, as she likes to be called, in the blue boat from Thailand, just moving up. Been really interesting. She's been at the course all week on the development camp that the ICF run for nations who aren't typical marathon contenders, and they're trying to increase the numbers, increase the participation, and both Thai girls have been here working with the Danes under the tutelage of the Dutch couple.
Pretty clear from that shot, Ivan. These are the 2 boats that are going to be dominant in this women's junior C1 race, Novo and Batka.
I don't know. I'm looking at Deng Mo, and I've seen her boat skills during the week, and she looks very good. She's in the blue boat to the left of the lead 2 there.
Yeah.
And I think she's a very tidy paddler, very well organised. Her portaging's been getting better all week. They've been practicing it. And I think...
There's a view.
So I think Deng Mo... I'm just going to keep talking anyway. Deng Mo is definitely one to watch out for. Her compatriot there in the yellow boat, Mo. So we've got Deng Mo and Mo from Thailand. And at the back there currently is Germany's Helen Preitz. Yeah. So there they go, up into the distance. Hungary, Spain, Thailand. And Spain again. Germany 202 with Helen Preitz there. And somewhere there's the yellow boat of Mo from Thailand. Big group still in the junior women's, looking very well organised.
Back with the K1s and that big bunch. There's probably 10 boats in that front bunch, tightly packed. Looking pretty organised though.
Hungary leading again, Great Britain to her right. Bethune from Great Britain, been in that V-wash pretty much since the start. It's been pretty much a textbook start for her. To the left of the Hungarian, I think we're looking at Spain maybe. Certainly the white boat with the red tip is Spain. We'll get numbers and names. Yellow boat for the South African was
Georgia
Singer. But still a big group. Just trying to work out where exactly on the course they are. It's a very deceptive course for us as commentators there, Dave. There's the same reeds all the way around. They all look very familiar.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to look at an overview of that course, but as you take off from the start, Lake Yels is a gradual elbow course. So halfway up the course, the first lap is about 3.4 kilometers. But as you head up, there's a gradual elbow to the left, which takes you around to the top of Lake Yels. You then turn around the top, and they're heading back from that top turn, Cancer. In the top right of your screen, you'll see where they've just turned at the top, and they're heading back. And Ivan, having paddle on this stretch, you would think there's a risk of that being shallow water, but it's not.
Absolutely not. And there's no real way that you can get squeezed onto those reeds either, unless someone's doing a deliberately, obviously aggressive behaviour there. So it's going to be tidy all the way around. That's a huge group of junior girls there. And the yellow boat was actually Catalano from Argentina to the left of the Hungarian. She's had pretty good results. Well, last year she was 7th at this, and in the 5K at the World she was 3rd. So she's got form. That's the yellow boat, blue and white striped top as we look at it. It looks like Rosa's taking the lead now.
They come around the gentle right-hand corner around the reeds, which brings them into view of the spectators sitting down here in this amazing sort of grandstand area that Lake Yels forms. Impressive start from Rosa. Got two strong British forces right in the front bunch there. Georgia Singer looking very comfortable in the yellow boat. And particularly after the drama of having seen Molnar drop out after that clash of paddles, you can imagine the nerves are still jangling in that front bunch. This is settle lap time.
It's just getting a little bit more edgy in that group. Saw the South African press up to try and take the lead from Rosa. Rosa wasn't having it. Just caused a little bit of change of direction behind them with the group. But again, Bethune of Great Britain settles onto the V. Catalano there. Been on the outside of the leader for most of the race so far.
Laura Tusset of Spain right on her outside. This could be an interesting portage if this bunch doesn't unbundle before the bottom turn.
We haven't got portage on this lap, Dave. Come on, keep up with the
Roger
program.
It's early, Ivan. It's early.
It's hard working with new people in the commentary sometimes, but we're bringing Dave up to speed slowly. So no portage on this lap. South African now leading, and things are going to get a bit tight. The Hungarian's going to cut out, I think it's Rosa, to get on the side of the South African.
And that's the Italian Cecilia Chiesa.
That's
sitting on
the best I've
Singer's
seen
side.
her in these races so far. So still looking very tidy in there. A little bit edgy in the back now. Rosa dropped back onto that V, but still looking like she's pushing the nose uphill a little bit. Just relax in on there.
There'll be lots of whooping and cheering going on in Cape Town right now. Georgia part of a squad from South Africa that includes a lot of very enthusiastic juniors that are racing at this level for the very first time, and they are coming into this one with their eyes wide open because this is such a new experience, but just hungry to learn. And they're traveling in a group which includes people like Hamish Lovemore, and been training with them every day and passing on as much knowledge and advice and just moral support and enthusiasm. And there's certainly no lack of confidence in them at this stage. So Singer looking comfortable in the yellow boat up front.
I mean, looking at that as an overview, I've been doing this job now for, I think, 8 years. And 8 years ago, you would never have seen a junior girls group with that many in, that well organised. The level has gone up and up and up over the years. And that, this is as good as any racing. And you just wouldn't have seen that. Even 5 years ago, I don't think you'd have seen this.
And just look at the mix in there as well. There's
Slovakia, Italy,
2 Argentinians,
South Africa, 2 Great Britain, 1 Hungarian. There would be 2, but for the swim.
Yep.
It's... Well, I mean, as the first race of the weekend, this is already a good one. Denmark in there as well, look. Second South African, German at the back of the group.
And then quite a bit of water back to 2 chasers who, I'm afraid, have got their work cut out for them.
Serafin, the Hungarian, I would describe as a lazy racer. She's happy, sat there. She's happy knowing she's got strength at the end of these races. And don't be fooled by the fact that she's with everyone else. She's still the one to beat there. So Juristi from Spain, one of those 2 chasers, but that's a long chase, and it's very hard to see that ever ending. Rosa trying to push up between those 2 boats as the Hungarian takes off. It's high risk. There's going to be contact. Just needs to settle in.
Oh, that's well done.
Got to keep your nose to the left of the plume coming off the boat in front of you. The moment it goes to the right, you get pushed outwards, and it's a very hard journey round the turn. Argentinian, really impressed with her. There's a little split in this group going to be after this turn. It's not going to be the same numbers. You can see Chiesa going around the outside of the South African. She's really struggling at the moment. She's going to struggle to make contact. It might be the black boat to her right that comes up to the yellow boat of the South African. No, it's going to be Bethune from Great Britain moving up to the second wash outside. Singer of South Africa. It's a good move. She's going to try and push up and get to...
pushing to try and get back onto the outside wave. There has just been a stringing out of the sponge going around the turn.
It's going to get a little bit tight. Rosa looking really uncomfortable on that V. She doesn't know whether to put a boat left, right. She just needs to relax. She's going uphill there. It just looks like she's very, very unsettled. Spain to the left of the group. Conversely, looking very settled for where she is. She looks very relaxed out there. South African taking it to them at the moment.
And Serafin looking very comfortable. Familiar territory.
So another big lap. It's hard to see that group breaking up before the portage, but for sure the portage will make a difference. In the green boat there, Australia's Chelsea Sutton. They're currently the 3rd pack. Well, first pack's big, then there's
Juristi with
2.
her. Singer in the front now in the bright yellow Nello.
Very confident. Doing a lot of the leading. Serafin looking untroubled, should we say? Sometimes you see these athletes look confident, doing a lot of work, and it's just sometimes not having the confidence to fall back into the group, wondering what will happen to you if you're not at the front, keeps you at the front sometimes, and sometimes keeps you at the front for too long. But there aren't many work-shy South Africans in marathon canoeing.
Yeah, and I'll give you a little snapshot of what goes on there. I mean, they're part of a group that trains in Cape Town with a group called the Orca Squad, where the work ethic is pretty impressive. If you're going to join the squad, then you've got to really stump up and do the hard yards. The conditions are often miserable. The winters are cold and wet, but if
Don't come to me with cold, wet winters, Dave. It's South Africa.
You chose to live on that island.
I'll tell you about cold, wet winters. So still the South African leads. Great Britain to the right. Great Britain in the V. Hungary to the left. To the left of Hungary, we have Spain and Argentina. To the right of Great Britain, I can't tell you now because we are back onto the C1s. Hungary and Spain together. To the right of your shot is Deng Mo in the blue boat for Thailand. No, she's been overtaken actually by the Italian, I think, Francesca Vigorito. So there's your two leaders, Novo and Batka. Vigorito just 4 seconds down. So obviously not with these two, but off to the side somewhere. Toonpong we're referring to as Deng Mo. And the other Thai athlete we're referring to as Mo. We've been given our instructions by the people who've been working with them all week. But Italy moving up in contention with these front two. So currently, there's your medals, and there's the Italian, Francesca Vigorito. Deng Mo in the blue boat, white top, just behind her.
Tracking, giving us a sense of the speed that these athletes are doing and the consistency of it. There's Vigorito's speed map for the last lap.
Deng Mo on her own in fourth at the moment. So Bert and Ellie Onikis have been running the talent camp, and the two Thai girls have been there along with some Danish girls in canoes, quite a lot of canoe girls, and then a couple of young lads from Uruguay, from Chile. There's a Greek C1 paddler there, just trying to spread the word and doing a great job of it. So there's your list: Batka, Novo, Vigorito, Deng Mo, Romero from Spain, Mo from Thailand, Preitz from Germany, and Olika from Denmark. Olika also on that talent camp. And if it was a portaging race, she would be up the front. She has done extremely well on her portage practice. It's super impressive watching her. The Italian now, taking it to him a little bit.
Yeah, that's a statement of intent. This could be, just to circle back, this is a 3-lap 2 portage event. We can look forward to the familiar clatter of seaboats being dragged over that pontoon in the near future.
Without a rudder, it just takes one of the worries away, and they drag those boats big time. So Novo leads from Batka, from Vigorito.
Novo just turning up the heat a little bit. We've lucked in, Ivan. We've got a C1 and a K1 race for the junior women that have both produced the goods early on. It's entertaining stuff to start the Thursday.
Absolutely. 3-horse race in the C1s as it stands, but it looks very, very evenly matched. K1 down at the bottom turn there somewhere, and that was still a massive group of 10 to 12 paddlers. So Romero of Spain and Mo from Thailand. All headed down to their first of the bottom turns. There's your lead three. Spain, Hungary, Italy.
Vigorito making it really clear on this first lap that podium is definitely on the agenda. It's just a case of which of the steps that she's going to be on. And for the team that runs Seaboat Paddling, the ICF, it must be incredibly heartening to be able to see the next generation of our Seaboat stars coming through the ranks, men and women, and racing with this level of intensity. And what you forget, Ivan, is that we're watching both the K1 race and the C1 race. And youngsters, I mean, these are schoolgoers, racing with maturity beyond their years. I mean, they're producing an incredibly mature spectacle. Most of these countries will have a relatively short marathon racing season. And then to be able to step up onto the world stage and race with this maturity certainly bodes well.
Absolutely. I mean, these girls already raced a couple of times this year, and the Europeans, it was Batka who got top honours, but the Italian wasn't even there at the Europeans, and that's going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works here.
Yeah, a joker in the pack.
Neither of them have raced her before, I would suspect. The Hungarian won by over a minute in the end at the European, so maybe she's hanging around a little bit at the moment. Maybe she's thinking of making a break at the first portage, but the other two look like they're matching her reasonably well, at least for the time being.
Vigorito just pulling away to the left slightly, breaking away from that group.
Romero and Mo still together. And they're about 100 or so meters down on the lead three. But in their sights is Deng Mo of Thailand, and they're reeling her in slowly. It's about 50, 60 meter gap up to this paddler in the blue, Deng Mo from Thailand. I would imagine the junior women's K1 around that top turn by now, and their minds will already be thinking about the first portage. They've got 4 to do, but the first one is really significant in a group of the size we saw when we left them last time.
Ivan, we look at that shot of Deng Mo heading into the portage. In a seaboat, your drinking system is a challenge in itself. You'll see that her drinking system is located in the boat, hanging on a leash around her neck, hopefully within easy reach when she needs it. But then, of course, you've got to think about having to pile out of that, drag it around for the portage. Challenging in a seaboat.
Yeah, I'm thinking with the seaboats, 3 laps, 2 portages. Maybe she's going to jettison that at the first portage. Maybe she's just thinking of hydrating on her first 2 laps before the portages, because that would seem quite a high-risk outfit, if you like, to get out and run with that attached to the boat. Seems a bit risky.
And as we discussed during the Masters racing, there is always the prospect if that thing goes awry and falls out or into the water or onto anywhere outside of the seconding zone, there's a risk of time penalties for faulty discarding of that drinking system. So you don't want to risk that. That would be an unnecessary spanner in the works.
So hopefully we'll get a view back up to the junior women's K1 fairly shortly.
Gives us a great broad view of what this Lake Gels is like.
It's like magic. So straight away, still at the front, Rosa, Bethune, the Hungarian, Serafin, Catalano from Argentina.
Both Argentinians are still in there.
Group much smaller now. The yellow boat of South Africa still in there with Georgia Singer. So we're down to 8 boats now in that front group. 4 just trailing behind, and that gap's only going to get bigger, I think. But down to 8 boats. Singer, Rosa, Tusace, Fakova, Duthat, Serafin, and Bethune. That's your first 8. Not in the right order, but it's close enough. Chase group coming out to the left to hopefully ride down the big waves and make contact with the group again. In that second group now, you've got a couple of choices. You can either go full out to close the gap before the portage, or keep the gap the same and hope that somebody drops off during the portage. and just pick them off one by one. On the far side of the group, we haven't talked about too much, is Svikova of Slovakia. She was second at the 5K earlier this year. So has got form, comportage, and looking pretty good on the outside. Two Argentinians, two from Great Britain, one from Hungary. Thanks primarily to an early swim for Hungary too.
Greta Rosa doing a lot of work at the front. High intensity at this stage on lap 2. Very determined looking young woman.
High work rate is a default setting, but I'm a little bit nervous. Obviously, I've got a vested interest in the British paddlers on this, but I'm worried that there's work being done, but no harm being done.
Yep.
If you're going to do work, it has to do harm, and I'm seeing work being done. I'm seeing relaxed faces behind her.
Well, the look on Rosa's face, I mean, having done a little 30-second burn on her own, where she clearly upped the stroke rate to try and stretch this group, there was a look over her left shoulder, then her right shoulder. Net result of all that energy expended, nothing. They've sat with her and they're enjoying the ride.
Toussaint of Spain, looking good on the outside of the group, seems comfortable out there. Rosa leads, and she'll, I think, have decided that she's going to get to the first portage first. I think we could see Serafin contest that. That's the nose of Serafin right there in shot. She's also going to want to get to the portage early.
Yep. And you've got less than a kilometre to that portage takeout, and with 8 boats on that front bunch, Ivan, I guess you would want to try and thin that out, just to avoid, your portage is your risk area. You want to avoid the propensity for something to go wrong, and if you can stretch it, certainly by the time you get to the bottom turn can, that's
it's a really fine line, because you don't want to waste energy coming in, but the further back in that group you are, the more chance there is that someone in front of you will muck something up and hold you up. So it's being cautious. We're seeing the South African already rearranging her position to suit the portage. She's thinking ahead, doesn't want to be stuck on the outside of the group. So she's got a plan already, which is good to see. Catalano looking strong to the left of Serafin. Greta Rosa looking comfortable to the right of Serafin. In the pink boat from Argentina, we've got Lara Duthat. And things are getting just a little more stressful in that group. There's not far to go now. We're looking at about 500 meters to that portage. On the outside of the group, Svikova. Really, you'd be thinking of wanting to change your setup there.
Yeah, she's going to be caught on the outside as they come down to those turn buoys. And it's a very short burst from those turn buoys into the first portage takeout. Key element of this race about to play itself out, Ivan.
So Serafin, Rosa. To her, to the left is Catalano. Those three all safe. Spain on the inside will just have to drop back to the tail of the Argentinian. That pushes the South African back another length. Not a problem, she can tuck behind the pink boat. At the moment, it's the black boat of the Slovakian. Up moves Bethune from Great Britain. It's a little bit tight back there. Those front three, only the front three are really safe here.
And it is gradually being stretched as we come into the portage takeout, and they're all going left from the front. Serafin is leading them down to the left. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, all going to the left. 5, 6 going right, 7 going right.
Bethune going right.
And Singer
Spaniards going right. It's a good idea
cautious.
from both those. It's very crowded on that left side. 1, 2, 3 away, 4 away, 5 away. Watch your rudder on the pontoon. You need to get to the end with a boat that works. Hungarian looking comfortable. Rosa looking comfortable. The two Argentinians running well. Bethune just in the background. This is the lead group of 5 now. They're going to get in together. They're going to leave together, I think. But the Hungarian pressing on. This is where mistakes can be made. It's so easy to rush things. Hungarian away. Rosa away.
The bad news is that Singer was very slow on that portage. She's dropped substantially back off that front after being a dominant player on the first lap. It's not good news for Georgia Singer. Not quite sure what held her up there, but now she has got work to do to regain her place on that front bunch.
We've got 3 boats away at the front. They're comfortable. Just behind them, the second of the Argentinians and Bethune of Great Britain. They are going to make their way back to that front group, I'm sure, but it's a little bit of a high cost. It's Bethune doing the leading up there. So here's our lead group of 3. Rosa looking like she's working hard, trying to get that drink system. Bethune is going to make the V-wash, and it's a lovely V when she gets there. This is looking super good.
Do that with some work to do to regain her place in the formation.
I don't think she's going to make it, Dave. It's a 4-boat race now.
8 has become 4 at the first portage.
Do that, just looking at that group, wandering away from her. It's down to 4.
And the 3 that were shugged off at the portage are now being reeled in from behind as well. Catalano's looking impressive.
Catalano's looking super good. She was 3rd on the 5K, so we know she can manage portages because, you know, portages per kilometre at those races is just a crazy situation. But everything's manageable. We're down to 4, and it's 4 to the end now, I think.
They're bridging. They're bridging. Look at
still
that.
Behind on her own, but she's going to close it, which means that front group is
now 5.
No one's particularly challenging for the lead, and it seems there goes Rosa. She's unhappy with people joining her, and she's going to press on now.
Duthat's going to have to burn some matches now to regain that group. This is tough.
She was so close to making that leap, and Rosa has just said no.
That's when you need a stealth bomber configuration to make your boat invisible so that you don't get caught in the peripheral
She's still
vision.
there, though.
She is grinding her way back on. This is a big heart performance from Duthat.
There's just nowhere to go when she gets there. That's the problem.
Got to say, Ivan, halfway through this race, if you look at the report card of Serafin, she certainly is justifying every bit of her pre-race favourite status.
Serafin looking favourite at the moment, but Rosa looks unsettled to me. She doesn't look like she's happy in this, but yeah, still a long way to go. We've only done 1 portage of 4. There's a lot can happen between now and the finish. Still a bit of chaos back at the portage. Murray from Australia. Svisler from Denmark.
It's been fascinating watching during the week how many of these junior athletes will spend a large chunk of their day sitting on that jetty at the portage put-in, just watching the elite men and women running those portages, just sort of sussing out where the wise lines are, how deep to run, exactly what point to target as your put-in area. And after watching the elites for a couple of hours, they come back and cautiously try and replicate what they're seeing the stars of the senior game doing.
We've just seen Kinga Molnar put her boat in at the portage. She was our early swimmer. But there's our lead group: Rosa, Serafin, Bethune, Catalano, and Duthat. Duthat still the spare, really, in that group. Still not settled. The main group, 2 from Great Britain, 1 from Hungary, and 1 from Argentina.
Back to the C1 race. And Batka and Novo now looking seemingly in control of the front of that race. As Vigorito figures in the background of that shot, difficult to get a perspective.
No, that's Thailand. There's two Thailand boats in the background, Thailand and Spain.
Where's Vigorito?
He's still on the graphic in third place, so maybe just off to the side of the shot somewhere. But we can see on the graphic there, 31, Vigorito, just behind 34 and 35 who are the paddlers in shot. So still a three-boat race at this stage. Two paddlers from Thailand just behind that with the Spaniard. Candela Romero as Spain 2. Spain 1 though, up there, Nerea Novo with Imola Batka. So Novo, Batka, Vigorito, Deng Mo, Romero and Mo, all in shot. We still can't see the Italian though. Are we sure she's still there, or has there been an incident?
I'm looking directly up course. They've just made the turn to come within view of us, yeah, and
I don't see her.
I don't see
her. Oh no, there we go.
There we go. Is that her? Almost in the center of
a long way to their left. Even further than the camera shot shows you there. When we're looking at it head on from our window, the gap between those two groups is quite big. So the Italian choosing flat water over wash hanging, and that's a viable choice in the C1s, I think.
The beauty about this Lake Gels layout is that there's no depth difference. She hasn't chosen a deeper line for any particular tactical reason. She's just decided, I think, to set herself a race plan on her own, not get distracted by what's going on immediately to her front with Novo and Batka.
You can also see on that track, though, if those tracks are accurate, that her average speeds are coming down. So she might have overcooked her first. No, she is still there, isn't she? She's come in, or the others moved back out now. She's still in the game, and it's still a three-horse race in the Junior Women's C1. Hungary from Spain from Italy.
Definitely still keeping her iron in the fire, and as that blue C1 edges a little bit closer, it will just signal warning bells to the two leading junior women who, I suspect, when they came around the corner, felt that they had taken control of the top two steps of the podium. But that's not the case at all. Vigorito definitely putting her hand up. There's a look over the left shoulder from the Hungarian, just to keep track of where the Italian is. Remember, they're on lap 2 of 3 in this race.
So they're coming up for their first of 2 portages. Spaniard looking a little more laboured, maybe, than the Hungarian. A little more pain in the face there.
Give me your call on this, Ivan, having raced, for a chunk of your life at this level. If you see somebody in the front bunch comfortable enough to be constantly looking around, assessing where you are in the bigger picture, seeing the forest for the trees, as it were, you get a sense that they're in a good place. They're feeling in command and comfortable where they are.
Yeah, I think you're right generally, Dave. I think here they're just a little bit confused by the Italian. Who are you? They haven't raced many races, together. We haven't had many opportunities to see each other in the past. The Spaniard and the Hungarian have raced each other. They were expecting to be there, and now they've got someone else. And frankly, it can be just mildly irritating sometimes. Think, could you just not be there so we can settle down and have the race we were expecting? The Hungarian's actually pulling away now, just slightly. I'm not sure if the Spaniard is going round to our other side, to wash hang on her more favoured side. Is she trying to move up to the right side? Or is she just fallen? No, yeah, I think she's trying to move up to the right-hand side. So that's to get round the turn. Wants to portage on that, maybe right side of the pontoon. She's obviously got some sort of plan, but I don't know, that gap's opening a little bit. She's on the tail now.
Yeah, Ivan, I like your read on it. Vigorito here represents the unknown. Not expected to be on the front in the view of the two leaders. What has she got in her arsenal that they don't know about? Are they now worried about an incredibly fit young female athlete who's got a burn that they're not going to want to have to contend with when it comes down to the business end of the race? She's the unknown.
She's struggling around that bottom turn, though, and the gaps are opening up. The Spaniard always had that plan, it seemed, to go to the right-hand side of the pontoon. That was why she was going around the back just before the turn. Hungarians coming left, Spaniard going right. Italian coming left, but pretty much out of contention as far as the portage goes.
This portage might be critical in terms of her securing and maintaining her place on that front bunch. She's lost more water than she would have liked coming into it.
Both girls coming in safely. Hungarian up and away. Spain also up and away. Italy looking a little bit laboured at the back there, not quite as sharp out of her boat, but Spain and Hungary running side by side. Here comes Spain.
Novo running this one really hard. In fact, she's coming past the Hungarian on the portage.
They're going to open out a gap on Italy now that's going to be unclosable, that's for sure. So it's Spain just trying to get a couple of lengths on Hungary. Spaniards out in force, in support, but both very comfortable and both side by side. Actually, the Hungarian was pretty impressive there. She ran much easier than the Spaniard and has got in with her and away with her. So Hungary looking solid, just coming round the left-hand side, the right-hand side rather, of the Spaniard.
It's not good news for Vigorito.
No, it's not.
That aerial shot has really, she's paid a price for the wide line she took at the bottom turn, which left her disconnected from the rest of the group coming into the portage, and she didn't run it as intensely as the other two. So she's in trouble.
Yeah, she won't see the front again, I don't think, the Italian, but still in third. Spaniard looks like she's trying to get her breath back. Dengmo from Thailand running through. They practice this portage a lot. But it's significant, you can practice it all you like, but now she's distressed. Now there's a couple of laps already in her and just not looking as tidy as when she was practicing earlier in the week. But she did run with her drink system.
It's clever. She's got a long feeder tube on that, which allows her to leave that secured in the bottom of the boat and run comfortably with it. Been super impressed by her, really have. I'm going to rewind this, Ivan, and actually challenge your assessment of that portage. Novo looked distressed and looked like she was sucking oxygen, but the reality is on that portage, she ran it quicker than Butka. Butka looked composed and managed to put in better.
Okay.
But the takeaway for Butka will be, if this comes down to pressure on the final portage, I might be outstripped by Novo, whatever her technique.
I see it, if, like you say, the Hungarian ran slower, but they got in at the same time. That's the job. They're in together. For all the running that the Spaniard did, there was no advantage to it. So the Hungarians just saved some money that the Spaniard has spent. And I think all those things add up over the laps. So yes, the Hungarian will see that the Spaniard runs faster, but she also knows now that even if the Spaniard's ahead of her, she's still going to get out of the water with her. So I put that down as a win for the Hungarian on that portage.
Yeah, I think Novo will take a little psychological pat on the back out of that, just having gone past her on the grass part of the portage.
Oh, whoa. Didn't expect to see that when we came back to the women's group. So that second group...
We have a reconnect to 7.
I would love to know who did the work to reconnect that group, and I'm suspecting it's the South African.
So Serafin still in command with Rosa at the front.
That is super impressive
Catalano
from that second group to catch.
Oh, and I think Serafin doesn't like the prospect of that reformation of the bunch.
Catalano beginning to look a little bit laboured. Spaniard falling off.
And Georgia Singer in the bright K1 is now on the outside wave there, having been some way off the pace at the bottom
Why don't
turn.
you tuck in to the wave on the inside? You know, she's done the catching up. She must be short of breath at this stage, and there's a V-wash there, gaping open, just begging to be used, and Singer still on the outside of the group. We haven't got any idea of the time frame. They might have only just caught up.
Yeah.
But you know, we're travelling at speed now. There's an open V-wash right there. Bethune falling back to that. She doesn't like sitting second wash out, and that's understandable. It's not a perfect place to be. She's fallen back to the half V, and Singer will come up.
Singer will come up onto the...
That's exactly what Bethune was planning on. But Singer isn't coming up, is she? I think she must have done the catch-in, and she's still tired from the catch-in. That's my take on it. Portage very close now. We're just about less than 30 seconds from the portage. So Hungary, Great Britain, Argentina, Great Britain, South Africa, Slovakia, Argentina, and then Spain is off the back of that group now. But it's still a 4-boat race.
Yeah, I must admit, Svekova looks like she is now clinging on to the back in that black boat.
The Hungarian just opens up that group when she wants to.
Yeah.
You see, the chase group is now the chase group again.
Yep.
And that happens so often.
Well, Singer let herself down badly on the portage. I'm sure she'll be desperate to make amends here. I mean, historically, the South Africans have got a good reputation for portaging. They train it hard.
Had the opportunity,
They're
could have gone
all
right, but
going
chose left, and
They're
it's a little
all
bit
going
confusing.
left.
She's come in slowly to the portage. There's a little gap opened up with the front two now. All out, though. Your rudder, get the rudder over the edge of that pontoon. Oh, whoa. Massive knock for Bethune. Rudder on the corner there. A gap's going to open up, and there's going to be some question in her mind as to whether that rudder's going to work when she puts in.
Yep.
Serafin away. She's going to be first away. Rosa will get there with her, just on her tail. So Serafin and Rosa, the two pre-race favourites, they're away. With them, Catalano. Bethune just running down to the water now with Singer. Hoping that rudder is still functional. It's Bethune and Singer away pretty much together. But there's your lead two. Oh.
Catalano desperate to reconnect with that front bunch.
Rosa will be very keen to go now.
Read the faces, Ivan. Read the faces. Rose is looking around. There's just a look of desperation about it. This is looking more and more like the Serafin
doesn't
show.
care. Rosa's just looked around and seen that this can be 3 now. She's going to go. She's going to go hard for as long as she can. Argentinian is properly on her chin straps there. That was a big catch-up for her. She is going to have to suck in some air to get back, but she is back with the group. Rosa is going to be the one who drives this now. She's getting into more happy territory. 3 boats, 3 medals, and she's going to take it on. Super impressed. Yeah, the rudder of Bethune. It was always going to happen when she dragged her boat up the side of the pontoon. She was having such a good race. Such a good race. She was there in the front 4, and that rudder's not going to get any better.
The boat is falling off to the right.
It's over.
She's in tears.
So sad. She's at the right place. She's coming in. The athlete put in is there. So I don't know what the deal is with staff, whether staff can help you, but you're not going to catch that distance up again.
Her race is run. She might finish it for pride. Georgia Singer now with some work to do. She's got to do that possibly as an ally if they want to try and reconnect, but they're going to have to dig deep into those.
She's trying to talk to her. She's talking to her. Man.
There's nobody down there to help her.
No, she just missed the athlete area there. That was a bit unlucky.
And that's a tough call on her now to try and analyse where the rudder problem is and bend it straight.
Well, you know it's bent up, but yeah.
This is going to feel like an eternity for her.
It's a walk back to the athlete area. There's no going back from that.
What does your pride do to you? Do you finish it? This is your first World Champs as a junior. Do you want to at least get across the line, or
it's not her first World Champ. She raced last year. You move on with the good bit. She did an extraordinarily well managed first 2 laps. She did a really good first portage. She was in the dominant 4, and then it's an error of judgment. You drag your rudder all the way along the pontoon and still didn't have it off the end of the pontoon by the fence at the end. You heard the knock, and we heard the knock from here, and we're 50 yards away.
Well, Svekova has joined the chasing group with Singer and Dutat.
So it's only the South African in that group that you would think of as a chasing group.
She needs friends, and she's not getting a lot of help from them there.
There's the front three. That's your probable medalists right there. The two white boats, they were expecting this. And it's Martina Catalano is the extra in there. So Denmark, Germany, South Africa 2, and boat 22, Chiesa from Italy leading that pack. Exciting times, Dave.
It's been a cracker of a race.
Do you know, in terms of that, those incidents give us stuff to talk about in commentary, but you can't help but feel for the person it happens to.
Well, it takes us back to a conversation we have every year, particularly where there's a jetty takeout or a jetty put in, and the high risk area of the takeout and connecting that rudder. We talk about just where you position the handle on the cockpit. If that handle is slightly forward of where it should be, you've always got the risk of that rudder bouncing along the portage, or even worse, hooking onto part of the jetty. If you get that handle positioning wrong, it's nose down on the portage, and if you're running a portage hard with your nose down, you're asking to be catapulted over your boat. It makes a lot of excitement for the spectators, but it makes it a lottery for the athlete.
That's, as you get fatigued, it's those decision-making processes that slowly degenerate to a point where you make a mistake that you know yourself is a schoolboy error. You know it in your mind. You already think it's so easy from where we're sitting. We're not tired. We're just commenting on it. But the athletes are tired.
Moa Nilsson in shot here, on her own.
These are long, lonely journeys on your own.
Your race is far from run, but it's certainly not an appropriate time to try and take stock of what you've achieved at this stage in the game. You'll have set yourself goals and benchmarks and targets along the line. But now you're on your own and your mind plays games, I guess.
I think to keep your mind on the job in hand is very tough. In shot there, Maja Lolika from Denmark. She was on the talent camp. World famous from the promo video as well. See her on that. But looking like she's struggling just a little there. She's done one portage. She looks like she's uncomfortable in the boat now.
Strapped right knee. It's a key part of that extension in the seaboat stroke.
From the graphic there, you can see boat 38 off the pace, but still in the game. Lead 3, back with the Italian. We were wrong again, Dave. We're consistently wrong, and I think that's one thing you can rely on. Yeah, we talk a lot, but most of it's rubbish. And we judged that Italian. We thought she wouldn't get back to the other two. She's obviously very comfortable on the water. Not the best land mammal, but once they're in the water, she is matching those other two, it would seem. And she likes being...
And she's got this habit of going wide and doing her own thing, which I think will unsettle the two other boats in the front of this race.
It just irritates you, I think, when you're the leader and somebody keeps... just that. Could you just not keep coming back?
One, what are you doing? Or two, what have you got up your sleeve that we don't know about?
Absolutely. There's your lead two. They expected to be the lead two, Batka and Novo, but it's Vigorito in third place. The graphic says 50 metres. It's hard to tell from the shots. That's not Vigorito in the background there. That's Deng Mo from Thailand. Just for those with the graphic, Toon Pong is Deng Mo to us. We've been given background information. That's the name we've been asked to put on air. So Toon Pong is referred to as Deng Mo. A little bit confusing for the online spectator. There is the gap. Maybe it is 50 metres still, but the same 50 metres. She's certainly not dropped behind.
That's an interesting perspective, because remember, they've got that gradual right-hand turn. So she's on the outside. She's in the centre of La Guiels here.
So just under 50 metres, that gap.
Comfortable to march to her own drummer.
I'm impressed because she looked properly stressed after the run. but she hasn't, water speed is the same. She's matching those other two.
But this arm wrestle for gold, I think, is going to produce a thriller of a finish.
I mean, they've got one portage to do. Yeah. This is their final portage.
And a short lap.
And a short lap. You called it. The Spaniard is faster on the land than the Hungarian. The Hungarian's slightly better managed getting in rather, not getting out, and knows that you can, essentially if the Hungarian comes in first, you can lose a length on the portage and still come out together. But there's your Italian.
Francesco Vigorito.
Definitely put her name in the hat today.
Yeah. There will be a stage in her career when she reflects what she's achieved in her C1, and this Lake Yel's performance is going to be when she's announced her arrival on the international stage properly.
So in terms of course position, they're about 600 meters away from their final bottom turn.
And she is taking the longer way around, there's no doubt about that. But let's assume she's comfortable with that.
There's your leaders. Novo and Batka. Nice drone shot from behind. Fastest lap was the first lap, and they finished that all together. So they've all got the same time for that first lap.
It does give you an interesting perspective of this Lake Gel setup here, because you leave this cauldron. It's a fantastic sort of amphitheater with the town of Yels and the spectator zone and this unique C-shaped little jetty harbor that it forms. And no sooner have you gone around that left-hand gradual elbow turn than you're in the remote and very quiet and very disconnected and desolate part of the course. So you're on your own. That's almost like Ghostland. You make your turn at the top turn can, and as you make that gradual right, you see Yels in the background and you hear the spectators, and the nature of the atmosphere changes.
Yeah, and it's nice. You can see the whole course from pretty much anywhere where you are on the course, but it isn't regatta course sterile. It's still a natural lake, and it's still got change of view as you go through. There's still landmarks along the way that you'll be ticking off, and it's I know I paddled here earlier in the week just to do a couple of laps and see what it was like, and it's a beautiful venue. It really is. It's lovely water to paddle on.
You're also using the entirety of the lake. You literally are going end to
around the edge
end.
of the lake.
It's not as if you've got a turn can isolated in the middle of this huge, vast expanse of water. So, and if you look at the distance of that lap, it's almost tailor-made for the current marathon
Purpose-built by the
Yeah.
Norse gods for the marathon racing in the future. They thought well ahead, those Norse gods. They were all over this. They knew that sooner or later the ICF would reduce their lap size to 3K, and they made this lake specifically for that eventuality. We owe them a vote of thanks for that.
Francesca Vigorito. No matter what, she can be proud of this performance. As it stands, it's going to get her onto the podium, and I think she'll be thrilled to pieces with that. But there's your perspective. It's the Novo and Batka show.
Should we have some wildly inaccurate predictions for the portage, Dave? I think we could chuck that in.
Yeah, I think the way we've butchered them so far, I think if you were looking to make a quick buck and maybe ask a prediction from us now, bet in the opposite direction, and you could benefit handsomely off our putting your foot in it over and over again.
So Dengmo there, fourth position. A little bit too far off the pace to be challenging for medals, but still moving very, very well. Conversely, the two leaders are directly opposite us now in commentary, and they've got about 200 meters to their final portage. There they are, locked in battle. We'll see Novo, I think, drop round the back again and come up the right-hand side of the pontoon. There she is. She's dropping around now just to get to a more comfortable side. Coming into the portage with the paddle between you and the landing stage is obviously not ideal.
Okay, Lola, call it. Before we get into the portage, and the portage was critical last time, We've got a portage and a short lap to come. Nail your colours to the mast. Batka, Novo.
It's going Hungary's way for me. She was more relaxed on the portage. The Spaniard was most definitely faster on the portage, I'll give her that. But then she didn't capitalise on that when she got in the boat. So if the gap opens up 2 lengths plus for the Spaniard, then it's going to be hard for the Hungarian. If the Hungarian's within a length or 2, it's Hungary all the way.
I'm giving you Novo with the more urgent and more efficient put-in and winning the end sprint.
Is it the final portrait for the C1s?
Yeah.
For the C1s, they're coming into the final.
So it's Batka going left, Novo going right.
So a race of 3 laps and 2 portages.
And they're paddling it long. They're taking it out as late as possible.
Hungary rise first.
Hungary out first. Hungary on the run.
Spain 3 to 4 lengths behind. But we know the Spaniard runs fast.
Batka pushing this hard. She does not want to be overtaken
Oh,
again. But
bit
Novo's
of
running this
stumble.
beautifully. Here comes Novo. Novo takes her on the portage.
Hungarian squeezed her left first. Now she's squeezing her
my
right.
word.
I'm not sure at what point that becomes obstruction, but that's not our call. So the Hungarian running. Spaniard's going to run long. Hungarian's going to get to the boat first, I think.
Watch Novo.
Boat exactly the same time. It's both away together.
That's a great put in from Novo. They're together.
And away goes Hungary.
Race on.
Game on. Locked in battle still.
It was a sporty portage, Ivan.
It was spicy, but not aggressive. And it's fun to watch that because you can see the thought processes going in the mind. Hungary did not want Spain to overtake, was happy to get in with her, but overtaking wasn't an option there.
So now you've got
And
500 meters.
that's a distressed face right there. That's somebody who's breathing heavy. But Batka,
They're both in the pain cave right
So-
now, but now you've got to start budgeting and making tactics because you've got 500 meters up, 500 meters back.
was the little stumble for Batka that nearly did it. She nearly fell over there. I think you were looking out the window seeing it live, so you might have missed that. But on screen, we got that little stumble. She nearly went down. Italian lost a little more ground on the portage again this time.
She's going to finish it as she's raced the previous lap. It's going to be all on her own. It'll be focused in her own little bubble. But up ahead, out of shot, the 2 women that are going to go toe-to-toe for the gold medal. And just to add further spice to it all, that nerve jangler of the final countdown for the final portage rings
the
out
women-
around the ground.
K1 women come through for their portage. Number 3 of 4,
Serafin,
Serafin and Rosa locked in battle. Serafin away. And actually, that's a little bit of intent there. Rosa struggling to get out from the edge of the portage. So it's Argentina. This is not the final countdown for the K1s. It's the final countdown for the C1s. And 3 away. It's Serafin, Catalano and Rosa. And Rosa struggling to close that gap. Serafin left with intent, and Catalano has matched her. Catalano looking stronger than she did on the last lap, I
she
think.
is. I'll give you that, and I will just tell you that Serafin is looking classier and classier with every stroke she takes. Apart from that moment when Georgia Singer was bullying the front of the race, she has seldom let the control of this race slip from her grasp.
And Catalano on the last portage had a bit of a catch-up to do, only a few lengths, but it really cost her in terms of oxygen. But this time, much tidier. Rosa's the one who's struggling this time. She'll get back in contact, I think.
Novo and Batka, in the meantime, out of the shot and away from the stream, have turned at the top turn can, and they have one thing in their sights, and that's the 2 white boys that mark the finish of the C1 Women Juniors. 1 gold, 1 silver, and it's going to be decided by those 2.
So 3 portages down for the K1 junior women, 1 portage to go, plus the small lap. And Rosa, we just saw the bow of her boat as we left that shot. Rosa back in contention with those front two. So 3-boat race as it has been for the last lap. Imola Batka leading currently and looking very strong doing it. Here's the C1 though, coming in for their final. Sorry, Imola Batka leading the C1 from Nerea Novo of Spain.
Batka timed that to perfection.
So
as they came around the small turn can, she just had extra matches to burn. And when she needed it, she's just driven a wedge between herself and the challenger.
You get a shot there of how complex that movement is. There isn't a body part not involved with generating power into those boats. Just every little bit of you, and to coordinate that, it's a mystery to me. I've never been able to do
Well, it looks
canoe
like
paddling, but she is smooth as and looking super good. She's going to come across the line first, absolutely no doubt. The first world champion of our weekend, and unsurprisingly, it's gone to Hungary.
And just to evidence how well she's planned her race, she is coming home at full speed. Gold medal going the way of Hungary and Imola Batka. Spain's Nerea Novo, who has been gunnel to gunnel with her throughout this whole race and then outwitted and outpowered in the end sprint, is going to take the silver for Spain.
Pretty happy with that.
What a great contest, Ivan.
It was a great contest, and yeah, not just these two. I really like what the Italian did for those first couple of laps.
You try and do that, stand dead still in the water in a C1.
It's out of my league. Look, they're so, the quality in these junior races, like I said right at the start, has gone up and up and up over the years.
And this has
They're
been
just
one
waiting for the Italian now. I think there's quite a lot of respect for these two for the Italian. They kept looking at it thinking, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And she stuck with it the whole way. Just outgunned on the portages, really. Give her another year's portage in, and there she goes.
Bronze to Italy, Francesca Vigorito.
Hats off to Italy. That was a strong performance.
And that look you're seeing from the Hungarian basically says full respect. Full respect.
Nicely
well
done. Really nicely done.
And I think your reader's 100% right, Ivan. They never quite knew what she was doing and what she was capable of. And that...
Deng
Deng
Mo
Mo.
from Thailand.
One of the great... I'm excited to see these. These are like sort of new planets that have been discovered in the galaxy somewhere. They've arrived. They're on the map, and the world's going to.
These countries, you see Thailand doing extremely well at the women's canoe at the Sprint World Championships, and it's just getting the overflow of athletes into the marathon. Marathon gives a whole range of new athletes and opportunities. There's more to life.
Emma Murray of Australia in the centre of your screen there in the green boat, sitting on the wave of Naya Zwizzler. With Kate O'Halloran of Ireland making up the third of that bunch. Romero coming down the line. Candela Romero, the second Spaniard in the junior women's C1.
So it's going to be Deng Mo. Romero just trying to chase her down, but she's not going to have time to close that gap. It's not going to be for lack of trying, though. Romero giving it everything she's got over these last 100 or so metres. But the small waves you see in front are the waves of Deng Mo. There she is. That's the distance between them. 6 or 7 lengths.
That's a fantastic result for Thailand.
Fantastic result for the sport.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line there. Just a quick note from the officials there. Please, can the team leader of Hungary report to the regatta office, to the event office?
We shouldn't do that on live stream. They should vanish. We won't do any interviews now.
That's the second Thai boat, Mo, coming down to the finish. And I fully endorse what Ivan's takeaway from this has been. It's just a huge... We've grown another arm as far
Yeah.
as C1 racing is concerned for women. And the two Thai girls, apart from being individually proud of what they've achieved, I don't think they understand collectively what they've
I
done.
also think that Mo here in the yellow boat is very, very young. I'm not certain of my facts. I think she's only 15. So
That's exciting.
please don't quote me on that. I won't say it publicly, obviously.
Nobody heard
But-
that. Just the world.
But I'm pretty sure
Mo for
she's
Thailand.
very, very young.
Welcome home. Congratulations.
Great job.
Is it this final portage now for the K1 women?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
5 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we look back up the course to the junior women's race, we'll just try and get you up to speed with who's who. I think the lead group is just going around the top turn as we speak. Right at the top of your shot, we've got our leaders. That was 3 boats
That's
when
the
we
3.
last saw them. So that was Hungary, Argentina, and Great Britain. There they are all together.
At the turn.
One more portage to go. Stress levels rising. Serafin, Rosa, and Catalano.
You've repaired some of your sketchy reputation for predictions with the C race. Give me your read on the K1 race.
K1 race, very
Can
hard
anything
to
stop
see
the
anyone.
Serafin train?
I'm going to say no.
Yep.
She's got a turn of speed that the others don't have. But Catalano was actually first off the line at the start. So she also has a turn of speed. Rosa was one of those 3. We've narrowed it down to 3, who was the slowest off the start line.
If there's a joker in the pack, it's Catalano. The way she burnt back onto...
The problem with Catalano, I think, is she just hasn't got... We haven't seen her get in comfortably yet from the portage. Serafin's been comfortable every time. So Serafin's got some spare available. That's how I see it. But Catalano leading currently. Rosa to her left, our right, and Serafin to her right.
If Catalano's
our
got
left.
that turn of speed, she's got the opportunity here, if she's got gas in the tank, to try and destabilize this and take control away from Serafin. If Serafin does what she's done this entire race and led into the final turn can and led into the portage, it's going to be almost impossible to stop her, unless a missile falls out of the sky.
At the European
So
5K,
you've got to take it away from her before the boys.
At the European 5K, it was Rosa who came out on top. Rosa was the winner. Catalano was third. And the Slovakian, who we've seen drop back now to the second group, was second. So there's still chance for Rosa here to pick up a big medal. Obviously, there's medals going to all 3 of these as it stands. It's hard to see that changing
You
here.
see, the Argentinian is doing the work as they come down to the final turn.
Argentinian looks very, very solid. But look at Serafin to her left. That's just lounging. She's waiting. Yeah, that's what she's doing there. She's waiting. She's covering the distance. Her race will start at the bottom turn here. And
There, paddles down.
She's had enough.
I'm not the cart horse for this leg.
Yeah, Rosa's caught in a difficult place here. She's got to put it into them to try and get some of the speed out of them. And I don't think she's got quite enough grind to trouble them. But, you know, Rosa she's a proper hard ass. Her teammates at Kayak Club, they'll be gathered around the screen somewhere watching this, and they will have every faith in her.
It's looking pretty determined right now. They heading down to the first of those 2 gentle right-hand turns around the reeds, and once they go around the second gentle right-hand turn, they will have the turn boys in sight, and it's literally probably 600 meters to the turn, and then game on for the final sausage lap.
Helen Preitz there from Germany in the C1, and that's a look back to the, well, are we calling it the chase group still? Let's just call it the second group. I think the chase is over. Singer from South Africa, Svikova from Slovakia, and the second Argentinian, Duthat. And they've got their own private battle going on there. I've really liked the South African in this race. I think she did a superb first couple of laps. I didn't see what happened on the portage. You saw her fall behind on the portage. I didn't see that, but I think she was unlucky.
The makeup of that front group could have included Georgia Singer
Yeah.
if those first two portages had gone according to
Yeah.
plan. I'd be keen to
Sure
chat.
it is, if is the word there,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's-
And sport is a weird thing. It isn't ifs, it's only is. What is counts, and what could have been doesn't. There's no could haves, should haves in sport. It's only dids and didn'ts, and that's what shows on paper in the end. And these three girls did. We could also have had Bethune from Great Britain here if she hadn't broken her rudder. It could be a 5-boat race.
The word you hear from coaches over and over again is execute. We have a plan, we have a strategy. It's up to you as an individual athlete. Your coach isn't there to help you. Nobody's there to help
No.
you. The spectators can't help you. You, in your own, out in the heat of battle, have to execute every micro part of the plan. And that's where I agree. The Zerafin show has been pretty flawless.
Yeah.
It's pretty Hungarian, it must be said,
Yeah.
but it's been overwhelmingly impressive.
There was a bit of chat there from Singer. Looked over her left, and so maybe she's getting a bit irritated now that she's having to do everything.
Well, the consolation for her would be to wrap up fourth. There's no shame in a fourth on a results sheet. This has been a pretty impressive junior women's field overall. There we go.
Rosa is giving it her best shot now. She's got to put a little bit of something into them, but that little bit has to come at a cost that's low enough that you can still do something if there's an incident or you have to do a bit of catching up. It's such a fine balance, and we talked about it back at home with Rosa earlier in the weeks leading up to this. How do I manage Serafin? And it's all great having the ideas, but we're not the one managing her.
Okay, Ivan, before we get into this thrilling end to the women's K1, we've just had official confirmation from the ITOs. We talked about that dramatic last portage in the women's C1 race, the Hungarian leading and apparently moving across the lane to try and obstruct her chaser coming through. That has been subject to review from the ITOs, and in retrospect, she's been slapped with a 30-second penalty, which is going to overturn the outcome at the front of that race. Ivan.
Yeah, I didn't write the times down, but does it overturn it into second place or third place? The Italian wasn't that far behind.
Correct. But it's definitely going to change gold and silver.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? That's going to serve as a notice to everyone who paddles subsequently. On the opposite side of the course, we can't see it on screen, but Serafin has made the break. Rosa has gone with her, and it's the Argentinian who's not made that break. It's down to 2 in the junior women's. I know we're seeing second group here, so I apologise to the viewers for giving you information that you can't see, but Serafin is away. There it is on screen now. Serafin, Rosa, and then Catalano. Catalano struggling at the back. Serafin away.
And I've got to say that was magnificent execution by the Hungarian. She had a plan. She fired the afterburners coming into the turn, and then all of a sudden the control of the race slipped straight back into the Hungarian woman's hands. And she is pulling away. She's putting space between herself and Catalano and Rosa. As she comes into the final portage, she's going to be able to take out unflustered, uncluttered. This is superb from the Hungarian.
She's still opening out ground on the others. So Serafin about to rise. Lost connection with her paddles there, a little bit risky. Rosa coming in about 5 seconds later. Rosa runs well.
Zofia!
Bit slow getting her boat out for Rosa.
Zofia Serafin runs through the portage area. The crowd applauds what has been an imperious performance from the Hungarian young woman. powering away across the grass down to the beach put-in, and there is now a chunk of water and space between Greta Rosa, who's chasing her, and what is almost certainly the woman who's going to step up onto the top step of the podium. Zofia Serafin of Hungary powers away. A colossal performance from her.
Ultimately, she's just proved to be better than the others. There's no answer to that. You can only race with what you've got, and Zofia Serafin is just the better of these three. Rosa there, she's going to hold second place. There's no way back, I don't think, for Catalano, who's another 5 lengths behind Rosa. So it looks like silver as it stands for Great Britain. There's Catalano.
She's not that far off.
No, it's too far. Rosa's not one for slowing down. I honestly don't think that can change. This certainly can't change.
Zofia Serafin has just raced with a maturity that is astounding. You know, as we look at the landscape of women's canoeing and we start looking beyond the Van der Kissel era, who's going to be stepping into the limelight as an under-23 and the next dominant force in the seniors, I think we're going to see a lot more extraordinary performances from this young woman.
I'm with you on that, Dave. I mean, there's a whole handful of girls they can throw into that argument, though. And it's not the easiest team to get onto.
That's the gap between 1 and 3, 1 and 2. And that in racing terms is cavernous. It's been a needle duel until it came into the final 250 meters before the last turn can. And that's when the young Hungarian said, "This is my game, I'm in charge, my rules, you play by them."
So Hungary round the top turn for the final time. Then Great Britain, then Argentina, and it's going to be a procession now back to the finish.
And at the end of their 18Ks, this is a staggering display from Serafin.
Argentina in 4th place, coming out of the portage ahead of South Africa, ahead of Slovakia. Also in single file there, but only small gaps between that group. Not like we see here. Serafin moving away with every stroke. Rosa just content. Well, content, probably the wrong word at the moment, isn't it? But happy to be holding off Catalano. That distance is too big to close over the last 500 meters. So gold, silver in shot now. Greta Rosa, she's had such a good year. Medals at every championship she's been to. From the sprinting to the marathon to Europeans, the Worlds. Fantastic year for her. In her final year as a junior. And she's actually been the strongest paddler, junior or senior, at home this year. So she'll move straight into the senior team next year, I'm sure. And we'll see a lot more of Greta Rosa. Serafin, though, will always be there, I think.
Yeah.
Every time Rosa turns up to a championship, there will be
Just look at
Serafin.
that. I mean, Ivan, just look at that. You're going to win it. You know you're going to win it. You mentally know that you've had control of the race. You execute. You pull the trigger at the key stage. You go into the portage. You run the portage hard. You put away in such a lead that you've got it wrapped up. But then you have an opportunity to make a statement. The world sit up and pay attention. You race that final small lap with such style, with such class, with such athletic finesse that you just can open a colossal lead. So you're not only winning, but you are winning in such strident fashion that it's breathtaking. Down to the finish comes Zofia Serafin.
Hungary won. Second time in a day where we've seen Hungary cross the line first.
Staggering young woman, congratulations.
A simple process, I think, for her today. Never troubled. Always knew she had that bit of extra power at the end. Rosa tried so hard to put a dent into the energy bank of Serafin. Didn't pan out in the end. Second place for her. and looks over her shoulder to Catalano of Argentina. She'll be happy with her third place, I think. Yep. Yeah, you look back into that race, what could have, should have. We say could have and should have don't count, but we had the Hungarian swimmer on the early lap. We had the Great Britain rudder on the second lap. We had the South African who somehow, I don't know, I say botched the portage. I didn't see at all, but she didn't come out of the portage with the front group. And you just think each one of those had a right to say maybe, but there's the three who did it.
Georgia Singer will be doing her level best to make sure that she wraps up. She's fighting for fourth at the moment. She's in the bunch of three that's racing down to the finish. But there will be a stage, and I'm sure she will record the video footage of recast of the stage when she was right at the front pulling, and there was a jittery look from the other women saying, "Ooh."
This is fourth at the moment.
Do that
of Argentina. So Argentina in 3 and 4. When you have 2 in the top 4, you know that your country is running a program that's working. Then it's the Slovakian Svikova. And I think Singer's going to have to settle for 6th. Because Svikova, I am so sorry.
Stand down, I'll take that. Svikova, Romana Svikova of Slovakia is going to be sitting comfortably in 5th. She's being put under pressure from Georgia Singer. Georgia Singer is putting in a little burn here at the end, a little statement of intent. She's going toe-to-toe with Svikova. It's not going to be enough to catch the Argentinian in front of her. Duthat is on her way to 4th. There is still a race for 5th and 6th. It's Singer in the yellow, Svikova in the black boat. Svikova has managed to find an extra little bit of power. It's going to be Argentina, Svikova in the colors of Slovakia, and a creditable 6th for Georgia Singer for South Africa.
Superb racing there. They all came out the portage in single file. It was Svikova that did the damage on Singer at the end. But do that. I mean,
just love this, Aaron. Just love this. Just love this.
I'm really impressed with that Argentinian. She did that catch up in the early stages. She looks tidy all the time she's paddling, and just brilliant performance from her. Tusay of Spain, next across the line, 7th position.
Laura Tusay. Satisfied with the job well done today.
Then it's Jordi Sommer from Germany and the Italian Chiesa. Chiesa up in that front group early days. As was the German. She was at the back of the front group when it was massive, 10 to 12 people. So they've all got potential to be there or thereabouts. It was that first portage that split the group, and subsequent portages that took 1 or 2 athletes out at a time. Smith from South Africa there, boat 14. She's our next finisher.
Holly Smith with 100 meters to come down to the finish line.
Being chased down by Denmark's Sarah Anderson, but time's running out for the Dane. It's going to be South Africa next across the line.
Holly Smith, part of a very energetic group of very aspirant young women in the South African paddling scene. Trains hard at marathons, very prominent in the surf ski setup, getting involved in just about every discipline they can get their paddles on.
Now we have quite a big gap back to the next finisher. A bit of time to reflect on what we've just seen.
Holly Smith and Sarah Anderson. You'll know this, Ivan. You create relationships, friendships, bonds. I mean, the toughest of adversaries on the water, but off the water, the world is a small place, and you build up some really good friendships that I guess you'll carry through with long past your paddling days.
You do, long after the results and the... Oh, Holly Smith's just fallen in front of us. She just made just a mistake with her paddle, and she went straight in while I was just about to talk to you. There she is in the water there. A little squeal as she went in. She didn't see it coming.
She's seeing the funny side of it too. She's chuckling away. Onto the back deck of her Nella, and she's going to swim that home. If this was a surf ski, she'd remount it in a heartbeat. And Sarah's sharing the chuckle with her.
Gives the rescue boat something to do. She definitely doesn't look like she needs rescuing. She looks very under control there.
Most days she would be doing the rescuing.
She's going to accept the rescue. So we're just waiting for the Swede to come across the line now. Sweden's Moa Nilsson. Is it Moa Nilsson? Yep, it's Moa Nilsson across the line.
Well done, Moa. What a dramatic morning, Ivan. I'm taking stock of two thrilling races and one with a real twist in the tail. We'll get to the medal ceremonies in a few moments' time, but Imela Batka of Hungary, I think she'll look back on that video clip and I think learn chunks from it.
I mean, we're not placed to say whether rules are good, bad, or indifferent, or whether application of the rules is there's confirmation.
She does hang on to silver. So Spain's going to take the gold. Imela Batka, confirmation with the 15-second penalty she's been slapped with, will take silver. She does keep that silver. We speculated about whether there was any risk of...
I tell you what, I bet the Italian's having a look at that and thinking, I wish I'd tried a bit harder on the last lap. I don't know if she had anything left in her, but she must be thinking, oh, if I'd known. So across the line.
Cecilia Basca in the Italian colours.
Got Jaristi, from Spain. Those three. Good day's work done. Sutton looking at a hand there, maybe a handful of blisters after this.
One of the things that's worth looking at, Ivan, is just the benefit that a junior woman gets racing in your national team for a couple of consecutive years.
Very much so. I don't suppose domestically, other than the Hungarians and maybe the Spanish, that there's enough depth in the country to have high quality racing with large numbers. So to come here and have these sort of experiences, if you can get it early in your career, it adds up to, you know, a knowledge base that you just can't get back at home.
Now, Zarafin certainly showed that. We saw athletes like Saskia Hockley having the benefit of having a couple of bites at the cherry as a junior and just improving in leaps and bounds.
So it's New Zealand.
Naya Zwissler.
Just getting in for a final portage.
Emma Murray crossing the line. Kate O'Halloran in the colours of Ireland, finishing up. Deva Bennett. And there's your champ heading in front of the spectator area, and this, as you look on your screen, that big C-shaped jetty, which is the defining landmark here at Lake Yells. That white boat is the champion, returning her boat back to boat control.
Bennett from New Zealand on her final lap now. And as things begin to calm down on site, we were talking about the 30-second penalty, and everyone, as you're being overtaken on that, will deviate slightly, and there's just a limit to the deviation, and somebody makes a decision that the deviation's too much and you're in trouble. So you know you shouldn't be doing it when you're doing it, but everyone does to a certain degree, even if it's just holding your arm out a little bit more than you would normally. And it's, with hindsight on that, was she in a position where she even needed to do it? Yeah. She knew how much speed she had at the end. And
I'll circle back to the psychological blow that was struck when she was overtaken in the portage prior to that.
Yep.
We were wondering about just how much of a shockwave that sent through her psyche. And the way the subsequent portage plays out, I think volunteers the answer. It gave her one hell of a scare. And that's what prompted it. So I think nobody likes having a race decided in an official's office, but in an instance like this, it's clearly put them into the position to have to review this thing calmly and objectively. And the beauty about it is they have the video evidence to go and review, which does make it a very clinical exercise. As much as one gets excited and swept away in the heat of the moment, the video makes it super easy to slow down, analyze, replay, and be objective.
So on screen there, Brianna Treverne from New Zealand.
From the Canoe-Kayak Club in Wellington. It's her first Worlds. Deva Bennett, her compatriot, we saw on screen a few moments ago. Paddles for North Shore, which is in Auckland. Silver fern on her cap. Dress a Kiwi in black and put a silver fern on them, and you get an extraordinarily passionate athlete. Very proud sporting nation. You've heard some stories about how tough the training has been down in Wellington. There's quite a core of marathoners that have been training through the Kiwi winter with this particular competition in mind.
There's a compatriot, Bennett, about 200-300 meters behind. So we've been looking at a teammate.
Stylish paddler, it must be said. Yeah.
So just looking at the number there, you've got the transmitter thing for the track on there. You've also got just behind the athlete, it's not a little lunch box, it's a little box of gadgetry just behind us. That's not packed lunch, that's so that we can see them on screen on the track system, so we can get the graphics up. Japan's Kirihata, round her final top turn.
Well, the junior women have certainly done their job in terms of providing the spectacle. Definitely got the pulses racing around the course. And of course, you've got the short course heats coming up in a minute's time, so no place for the faint-hearted here at Lake Yells.
I think, our job and the TV presenter's job is entertainment, and that was entertaining. Oh. I think that, with great pictures this morning, great shots of the race, overview, close-ups,
Diva
We've
Bennett
got
across the
everything.
line. Claiming a place for New Zealand and North Shore Canoe Club.
2 New Zealand girls will paddle back to the boat sheds together. Their job's done.
Trying to puzzle what time of day it is in New Zealand for those watching the recast stream.
And we'll maybe see them back out in K2 later in the week.
Shiho Kirihata in the white Nello, bringing home a creditable result for Japan. Must be an encouraging spectacle for the marathon committee. I mean, most of them are locked into all sorts of official duties here, but to sort of review the future of women's paddling in apparently really good hands after a spectacle like that, it really bodes well.
I think in the early days, you know, the junior women's K1 race was something that we almost had to get through.
Yeah.
It was, but now, you know, that's the same spectacle as any other race. That first 2 laps with a group of 10 plus, good portage in, breaking down the groups, all the incidents, you know, that the level is going up and up and up, and these sort of countries, New Zealand, Japan, wanting a little bit slice of the pie, they're getting into it. You know, I know, you know,
Shiho Kirihata.
you can't imagine that New Zealand canoeing won't push. You know, they've obviously got a stack of women there that are capable of being up the sharp end. Yeah. We've seen that in other disciplines, and you know, it will grow. I think it's tough for countries like Japan. You know, where do you get your practice runs? You know, I know they've got a Hungarian coach over there. We saw him racing the Masters earlier. He obviously knew what he was doing, so that information is going to get to his athletes at some point, and it will grow there. But it's hard to grow a local community without that high-level athlete on site to match, I think.
It also starts somewhere. It's so often a personality, you know, whether you've got a Vonda Kisley or a Renata Shai or a Lisa Carrington or somebody like that. There's another generation of adoring young people that want to emulate them, even if it's not exactly in that discipline. Does Japan have that person? Possibly not. It makes this performance even more impressive.
So that's it for the morning, Dave.
Yeah, what a good morning it's been.
Session 2.
Session 2 is at 10:35 start local time, which is in 20 minutes' time, and it's the first of the heats in the women's K1 short course. Thanks for the ears and eyes, for those of you that have been following on the recast stream, and for the crowd that has really lapped up every bit of the spectacle here. It's time to sneak off and get a local sweet pancake, Lola.
Oh, I've yet to have one.
Before I get more rombala. Enjoy the break. We'll be back with you in 20 minutes.
Just minutes away now from the start of the second event. It's heats now for the short course women. Qualification at stake for 20 of the top athletes to go to the final later on in the day. Athletes
So
running around.
just talk us through it, Ivan, because the qualification process, there's
You see when they line up, and then
there's 15 or 16 boats in each of these heats. There is guaranteed qualification for the first 6 in each of the 2 heats.
Yep, it's top 6 in the 2 heats and then the fastest 8 times. That really complicates things if you're not the top 6, because if those top 6 are super comfortable, going around slowly, not particularly bothered, then you don't get a lift round very quickly, and your top 8 place or top 8 times becomes quite dodgy. If you're not one of those top 6, you really need to be pressing on to make sure of your qualification. The final's got 20 boats in it, so it's always a bit of a gamble. Depends how the fast people in your heat decide to run the race.
de fortsätter prata, men vi måste sänka ljudet på Vejen.
Got all the big names out there. In our first heat, we're looking primarily to Vanda Kisley from Hungary, boat 49, in the middle of the field. She's the athlete with history. Anna Sletjo, we saw at the marathon short course at the Sprint Worlds last week.
Where's the PA going, guys? And a Sletjo, as you say, definitely.
She's really moved on. I mean, I haven't followed progress throughout the year, but last weekend at the Sprint World Championships in the marathon short course race, she was up there, really up there, ahead of Kisley, ahead of Anderson from Sweden, and I've never seen that on the marathon circuit before. So she's obviously doing something right. So we include her now in the big names for sure. Number 44 in this one, Kahalmi, we've seen her race before. Yeah, you can't write off a Hungarian. Talking of Hungarians, for Finland, you've got Sarah Mihalik. She was Hungarian up to a point. Now she's from Finland. Also in this race, Irati Osa from Spain. She's got a history of doing well in the women's fields, long course and short course.
Melinda Anderson comes into this race as the defending champion, and fantastic. She's been put in the other heat, so she doesn't go toe-to-toe with Van der Kisley first
Yeah,
up.
they tend to seed these. They're seeded heats, and people know who's who. And but Melina Anderson, on paper, I only saw the sprint race last week. Here's our list: 41, Anne Winter, Kobayashi from Japan, Mihalik from Finland, Kahalmi from Hungary, Nasu, Japan, George Dotter from Sweden, Sletjo from Norway, Forrest from France, Kisley from Hungary, Vorst from Netherlands, Fink, Germany, Osa, Spain, Svakova from Slovakia. Dave, Svakova, I struggled to say it a minute ago. I'm struggling to say it now. Quite impressive.
Super impressive. Off the water, straight back into the heat. It speaks volumes of attitude and fitness base, I guess, and as they're getting called down to the starter gates, there is absolutely no room for error. The intensity of these races means that you cannot make one slip-up and afford yourself the chance to get back.
To be fair, I don't think I'm seeing Svakova on the start line. She had a black boat, right? And she should be at the top of our shot. And maybe she hasn't turned up for this one after all.
I would completely understand that.
She was 5th in the junior short course literally moments ago.
This gives her no turnaround at all. She will still be sucking oxygen somewhere in the team tent. I completely understand that.
So that's going to be the orange vest of Holland, Van Voorst.
'51 is Caroline Vink, Irati Osa in 52, starting side by side. There's a solid grimace from Osa. They're under starters' orders. And they're underway. So the first heat, 3 small laps.
Away they go. Kisley in her red boat. Straight out into the lead. Sletjo to her left. Vorst to her right. top of your shot there, 3 from the top, is going to be K1&C1w, also from Hungary. So the 2 Hungarians leading at the moment. To the left of K1&C1w is going to be, I think it's Winter. There's a few people missing from this start line that are on our list. So K1&C1w leads, Kisley second, Winter on the far side, Vorst, Sletjo, Osa, and from France, who we haven't mentioned yet, Matilda Foray. 6 only qualified by right. Coming up on the outside, Japan's Nasu. Oh, it could be Kobayashi, actually. Wasn't Kobayashi the villain in the Usual Suspects?
Could be. Your comment is
there was Kaiser Soze, and I think Kobayashi was in there.
I'll go with you, man. Your strategy about if you're potentially outside of the top 6, but then hanging on to maintain your pace and be as competitive time-wise is 100% right. Looking at that bunch at the moment, there's 7 with 1 hanging.
It's so difficult because these K1&C1w knows she's going through. Kisley knows she's going through. So what speed do they go? They can choose any speed they like. If you're the 7th fastest in here, you need that speed to be high because you don't know what's going to happen in the next heat. The next heat do have the benefit of knowing how fast this heat went. So it's tough calls. Just off the back there, Fink in the red boat from Germany. She's just going to have to put in the work now, perhaps get over to the blue boat of Japan and work together.
Remember, this is 3 short laps, so the first of those turns at the short top turn. It's all being pretty sensibly executed.
2 Hungarians, Denmark, Netherlands, Spain will be up there somewhere. Here we go for name checks round the corner. K1&C1w first, Kisley, then Winter from Denmark, Van Voorst from the Netherlands, Sletjo from Norway, Osa from Spain, Foray from France, Kobayashi from Japan. K1&C1w, that's pushing on.
That shows intent. What's your headspace going into a race like this, Ivan? Do you content with comfortably in the top 6, or do you want to lay down a marker early on?
No.
I mean,
K1&C1w's
out to make a statement here. Vander's happy to sit there, right?
I think they just want the 6 clear, and then they can slow everything right down again.
So 3 small laps, 2 with portages. By the time you get into that portage, if it's down to 6 or 5, half of the job's done.
Orange bow of the Dutch boat there, just struggling to maintain contact.
Sletjo happy to sit on the diamond.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
So 4 and 3. Kisley going past K1&C1w. K1&C1w's not having it.
No team plans on this one. That was a get back into your hutch, Vander.
I think that's exactly what we saw there. So Winter on the side, Sletjo in the back. It is just a journey for all of these 7 really now.
Well, the journey for the next 3 becomes interesting as well because there's automatic qualification for 2 of the 3, so watch them. That might be quite a spicy dicey.
Yeah, if you're that close to the
you should
6th,
be good.
I think you're going to be fine. 8 spare places.
You're suggesting that after this race is done, that the next race will know what time has to be achieved to secure?
In theory,
do they watch
don't
time?
you?
Are they
in
watching?
Theory, yeah, I would be.
I mean, most people have got their Garmin's going, are you
Yeah.
watching time as opposed to pace?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know whether when you're out there, but you would know what time you need to do to qualify.
You might get time shouted at you when you come through the portage zone.
Yeah,
That's about
that's
it.
true.
If your seconding crew is really on top of their game.
All 7 of these in shot almost certainly
Should
will
be safe.
make it to the final.
Hungary.
Yeah, Kisley was at the Sprint Worlds last weekend and no medal in that, and you would have put her down as pretty much a firm favourite for a medal.
To rock home to a medal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, wondering if she's a bit out of sorts at the moment. They're coming into their first portage. Everyone up and away. Kisley way more organised than K1&C1w.
That's fantastic from Vanda Kisley.
Sletjo running well.
All four together.
Winter also. This group looks like it'll stay together, but Kisley looking so easy on that portage.
Sletjo in third.
Kisley's opened up a little gap. I mean, she's not trying to open up a gap, but she just runs better than those other girls.
It almost seems to come instinctively to her, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's enough of a lead to be up and away, to be fair. K1&C1w first into that portage, last out.
And Winter enjoying the rarefied company at the front of that race. It's a good place to be bracketed with those three other paddlers. Vanda Kisley just doing what she does best.
Yeah, she's off. She's happy to go off on her own by the look of it from that shot. Just getting in, Caroline Fink at the back there, Kisley on her own.
The beauty about this short track, the short course, is that it's doable. I mean, for 3.5 Ks, if you wake up in the morning and your body's feeling willing, it's completely doable.
So I think that's largely dependent on your body, Dave. I mean, my body didn't get up this morning thinking this was doable. Yeah, Kisley opened up 2-3 lengths on the run.
And they're happy to let her go. Yeah. There's no desire to catch her there.
Well, there's no value in it. These are top 6 anyway.
And K1&C1w's given up the desire to jostle with Vanda as well.
I'm going to say, in terms of K1&C1w, pretty poor on the portage. First in, last out, and not in contact with the leader. Yeah, that's going to be very telling in the final. I think you're not going to have that sort of leeway in the final.
Measure the distances now as they go around the turn. Boy, look at that. Well, Vanda set that up with a class portage. And gifted a sniff of the lead. She was gone. Gone for all money.
So this is pretty much a process now for these girls. Kisley on a training run. The other girls just knowing they've qualified anyway. I think we'll see things contended slightly more strongly in the men's heats in a few moments.
Your race now is actually in the right-hand corner of your screen.
Yes, 100%.
There's 5, 6, and then
behind them,
the desperate ones.
Yeah. Bit harsh, Dave, to refer to them as desperate, but that is the truth of it. Whoever's not on screen now, it's only Kisley now, but whoever wasn't on screen in that 6-boat shot has to be going full on now.
And you're going to sit on the bank and watch the next race, hoping that there isn't a 12-boat flotilla that goes full tilt together and just erases you from that final.
So there's your top 6, include Kisley, who's out of shot. That's at the back is Osa and Van Voorst from the Netherlands. This is Group 2. Winter, K1&C1w, and Sletjo. So those 6 are clear.
There's almost a nonchalance about this group. Sletjo looking very measured and focused on it all.
It is incredible how quickly those gaps open up.
Got to be cautious about reading too much into this.
Yeah. The 6 automatic qualifiers on screen now.
And there she is, one of the icons of the game. Bottom turn can and then into the portage. She came in a traffic jam for the first portage. The way she took off like a scalded cat means that she won't have that pressure. Van der Kisley coming down to the bottom turn cans. In a K1 that the Dutch team would love to have, I think.
I think they look orange on screen, and when you see them
It's
in real
red.
life, it's red again.
It's red, yeah. It just looks...
So Kisley first into the turn. Then the group of three with Denmark, Hungary and Norway. Two behind them is the Netherlands and Spain. France just off the tail of Netherlands and Spain. But Kisley out, up and away. And she just does that better than the other girls.
It's just so grooved. It's second nature to it. It's more than just instinct. Round of applause for her. Great shot from the cable cam as we watch Van der Kisley powering through the portage. Down to the beach put-in. So efficient. No pressure. Ah, beautifully done.
And the final lap for her, up to the top turn, back to the finish line, and her job's done. K1&C1w maybe faring a little bit better on the portage this time. Winter looking like she's struggling at a tad there. But K1&C1w just a little slower into her boat than the other two, and again comes out.
Nice
last
work
of
from
the three.
Sledjo.
Sledjo very tidy.
These athletes have got 2 re-entries pre-programmed. You notice it when you watch them training. There's the unpressured one, where you just need to get the boat in with 0 risk. You can afford to actually have the boat come to a standstill, put 1 foot, get your butt in. And then there's the high-speed, full-intensity one, where you actually throw the boat into the water, get it moving, and then jump into it while it's moving, putting all your weight onto the 1 foot in the center of the boat. And if you can not alter the forward movement of the boat while you're doing it, then there's so much to be gained. But look at that. That's a statement of intent from Van der Kisley. It's probably 150 meters now.
You can see why, though, the lack of intent in this group. They're just happy to get there. Fink from Germany. She's one of the ones who's got to be conscious of time. So Fink has to push on if she wants to get into the final, but she has no idea, obviously, what time the next heat are going to do. So she's working hard.
And there's a ripple effect here as well, Ivan. If in a case like this, Vander's running away and taking the race out of it, the pace and intensity, certainly in the top 6, is very light. If the second heat turns out to be a far tighter contest, if you find a bunch hounding Melinda Anderson, you may get a totally different time factor coming into it.
100%. So Van Voorst, no, Spaniard, I think, Osa, at the bottom of your screen. In 5th place. Glances over the shoulders all the way. This group totally untroubled.
And there's no point in playing games at this stage, trying to extract some sort of psychological advantage over the athletes around you. Just wrap it up without making a mistake. As I said, Ann Winter will be comfortable being bracketed in that top 4. Certainly puts her in a great position going into the final. She can.
What you're learning here is that if you can do your first portage at the same time as Kisley and get away with Kisley, chances are you're going to be pulled through to a fairly strong medal chance.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same will be true of Anderson in the next one. I'm sure if you're the one who can stay with her on the first portage, then game on.
Burn whatever matches you have to burn, but just stay on them. Stay
Yeah.
on them. Not the first or last time we're going to see it, but Vanda Kisley stamping her authority on this event. 50 meters down to the finish line. Distinctive style. Comfortable and totally dominant winner of Heat 1, Hungary's Vanda Kisley.
Little wave there over to the photographers. Carolyn Cooper, who all the athletes know so well. One of the fixtures of marathon racing. Athletes are always pleased to see her.
Well, there's a bit of a race
Always
going on here.
grateful for the shots.
We talked about what's to be proven. Kohalmi 1 second. She's going to get it from Sletjo. Sletjo's coming.
Sletjo had that.
Word.
Now that's just a little experiment.
Yeah.
From Sletjo. And that's a turn of speed that Sletjo must have had last week in Duisburg, because she had such a good race there.
I don't think Kohalmi really saw that coming.
And when she did, there wasn't much she could do about it.
Yeah.
So.
Winter takes 4, and this is 5 and 6 being sorted out.
Boats being called in for boat control. Boat control essentially consists of weighing and measuring the boats. They obviously have to be a maximum length and a minimum weight. The length is 520 centimetres and the weight is 8 kilos. So any longer than 520 and you're disqualified, any lower than 8 kilos and you're disqualified.
So Odette van Voorst and Mathilde Faure getting on the right side of the equation.
Osa from Spain across the line, followed by Fink of Germany.
Who's pushing it all the way. Time is gold here.
I think they'll be safe. And now you begin to wonder.
That's 8.
So we've got 2 of the fastest times already across the line.
You completely understand the urgency in this stroke. Kobayashi.
She's given it her all, and hopefully that'll be enough to get her to the final.
But it's anxious wait and see time. That's the worst part for them. Haruna Kobayashi.
Quick repeat of the finish where Sletjo overtook Kohalmi right at the end there.
Ooh, where did she?
It looked like it from where we're sat. We're not sat exactly on the line, but with the camera on the line there, that was pretty much as nip and tuck as it gets. And that is a camera decision, not a decision from the 2 clowns in commentary who clearly oversold it earlier. And that's because we're just slightly beyond the finish line and the angle is slightly different for us, where it looked clear that Sletjo had come past Kohalmi, but it looked a lot closer for the real camera.
Tenki Nasu adding another finish for Japan and putting herself on the cusp of that place in the final.
I think that's everyone in from race 1. Sletjo just down on our right at the pontoon, having a little chat with her coach, who's also her dad. And I would imagine that conversation revolves around something like, when you get into that first portage and Kisley goes, you need to be with her. It seems a very simple job. That's one job to do, and it is, that is how you do well.
So left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the starting gantry, which is already mustering boats for the second of our heats. Front and center of that crowd that's busy getting ready to race is the defending world champion, Sweden's Melinda Andersson. Eva Barrios of Spain is going to be in this group as well. Cristina Bedic. Both Japanese women will be relatively content with their performance. They've kept their hands up in this equation as far as qualifying for the final is concerned. That's step one in the process. Just make sure that you're in the final lineup.
We have Maria Canoe-Kayak in this one as well, who we saw earlier in the week racing in the Masters. Doing a good job there. Melissa Johnson from Great Britain, Melina Anderson, Cristina Bedek, Eva Barrios.
Sarah Lockwood's on the line here as well.
Katerina Milova, 10th last year and 5th at the Euros. Her name's going to be in the hat also.
There's a summary. That's the anxious wait and see group that you have on screen right there.
So the ladies lining up behind the start gates for Heat 2. Melissa Johnson in shot.
Looking very pensive. Alongside her, Sarah Lockwood, North Shore Canoe Club from Auckland.
Canoe-Kayak in the pink boat at the back, just checking the numbers, seeing where she fits in.
Tucking in alongside Nina Riossa of Estonia. That's Sarah Lockwood in the blue boat.
So Johnson, Lockwood, Otero. Oh, it was Otero maybe we were looking at Argentina there. Nina Riossa, Estonia. Milova, Czech. Bedek from Serbia. She's one of the favourites. Barrios also up there with the favourites from Spain. Kemp and Mann. And then closest to us, Candela from Italy. It's just coming out to the line now.
And importantly, Ivan, a full field.
12 boats in this field. So I didn't count the number in the previous field, so it's 20 in the final, only 12 here. We're not losing many, to be fair, from these heats. I think there's a few no-shows.
Under starters' orders.
Away they go. Blue and yellow boat of Anderson, the first to show. Two up from the bottom, Rebecca Mann from Australia.
That's a super start from the Aussie.
Green boat in the middle will be Bedek. Erland from Norway, trying desperately to hang on to Anderson, and that's your way to get in the top six. Anderson looking very strong, very, very strong. Johnson from Great Britain on the outside, still in touch with that group, just needs to tuck in the back. Barrios from Spain, the Australian man getting across there. Riossa also hanging in there in the turquoise boat.
Rebecca Mann looking for a spot on that front bunch, having had to cut right
come
in from
so
the right.
far across to get there. Bedek in the green boat has a depth of experience that none of the others can match. She's been around for a long time now. Barrios from Spain, bow of her boat in shot, but there's your front four. So Norway, 2 good competitors out of 2 races, but it's Anderson leading. Sweden from Norway. Serbia to the right of Sweden in the green boat. The Czech Mileva, 5th at the Europeans. Comfortable in the V as they make their way to start their first turn of 3 at the top.
7 already clear at the front. Neatly enough done, no fuss and bother. Everyone shadowing Anderson. I think Bedek will try and just make a mark on this race before the heat's out.
I think I was going to say too old, I don't mean that, too experienced. She's too experienced to do that. This is a process for her. It's a process she's done 1,000 times. In this race, other races, it's just a case of getting round.
There are a bunch of seasoned old pros
yeah.
here who are not going to lose their heads.
Kemp from New Zealand there, Johnson from Great Britain, and Italy's Beatrice Candela. So there's all 7 of these. Looking comfortable, and the group we've just seen are just in shot to the right of your screen, and they'll be hoping to pick up a couple of places on the portage. Turquoise boat of Riosa from Estonia, 5th at the moment. Osa from Spain.
That graphic's not 100% right.
Oh, Barrios from Spain, not Osa. Osa was in the previous one. My mistake. So Eva Barrios.
Anderson at the front as she has been, so vault her 4 places up on the leaderboard that you see on your top left.
So Barrios, Mileva,
Erland,
Anderson, and Bedek. There's a K1 going back on the other side up there.
Yeah, there've been a couple of K1s that I think...
Previous heat? Or?
No, I think some of the men that are going to be taking off in their heat at 25 past 11 are getting onto the water. So fields are slightly bigger there. Nerves will be a factor. So I think they just want to get onto the water and settle.
So here we go. Portage number 1 of 2.
Anderson with the simplest of decisions to make as she's pulling them around, the last of those turn boys.
Bedek choosing to go the same side as the opposite side.
Anderson
Anderson went right.
across.
Bedek wants to go left. Last minute change of mind. She didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
The Norwegian comes left along with Estonia.
Anderson gets out early.
Along with the Czech.
They all get out early. Anderson's gone. Super takeout and run from Melinda Anderson.
That's a big gap for Anderson.
Cable Cam is able to track the world champion.
So Anderson and Kisley pretty much taking the same method. First portage, out clean, up and away. Barrios, who didn't come into that portage second, I can assure you, has got out extremely well. The confusion was for Bedek, who wanted to go one side of the pontoon, and it didn't work out, and she ran out of time to change sides. And she's struggling to get in her boat there in the green boat.
Looks familiar. It's almost exactly what Van der Kisling did.
Bedek looking extremely shaky, getting in her boat there. So Barrios, the Australian, done very well out of that as well. That's Rebecca Mann. They're both with Milova from Czech Republic. And we're back to
Erland Riosa hovering in the background.
So Bedek, I imagine, will be a little flustered by that, a little bit irritated.
A little rattled, I think.
Yeah, I think that's not, well, obviously it's not how she wanted it to be, but she's comfortable top 6, so she'll cruise around from here. The gap, 41 metres, all gained in the space of a portage.
So we've kind of framed the final that's going to be happening a little bit later in the day. It's the long-awaited toe-to-toe between Van der Kisling.
Yeah, last year
Melinda
Kisley had a
Anderson.
torrid race. It didn't go well for her. I think she actually, did she fall in on the first portage last year? I think she did, just a stumble, and so she had some catching up to do, and yeah, it wasn't her day. So this year, she'll be hoping that doesn't happen, obviously. So we've got our 2 main contenders, but we've also got a number of people who put their hat in the ring.
One of them's in frame there, Eva Barrios.
Yeah. Really like what Sletjo did in the last one. She was also pretty good.
Rebecca Mann's had a good race.
Quite a tough race. Wrong side, not wrong side, but the far side of the start line to the whole group. Had to make her way all the way across. Did that sensibly, slowly, calmly. So, yeah, she's done a good job.
Came out of the right side of the portage because she was, she came in with 3 or 4 boats around her. One of the queens of Sweden's paddling world.
And she was so dominant last year in short course, under 23s. I think she won last year comfortably. Everyone here looking pretty. It's a job to be done. Yeah, the next group, they're probably all safe for qualification as well. Rebecca Mann moves through on Eva Barrios.
Barrios will be happy just to tuck in onto her wave. Anderson with 50-odd meters in her lead. Not doing anything reckless with that.
Rebecca Mann, 11th last year in this race. We're going back to Bedek, Johnson, Kemp, and one more in that group who I didn't quite catch. Anderson away from Mann, Barrios, and Milova.
I know you don't lose a lot of sleep over blade shapes and sizes, but for an athlete that's coming to a World Champs racing short course and long course, different blades?
I don't think so. I think the job's the same. It's only the distance is smaller. You need acceleration, you need a rhythm, you need comfort. I think it'd be exactly the same for both. There's always someone who's mad enough to have two, though, and confuse themselves. So Anderson obviously likes coming into that side of the pontoon. Right side is her side of choice.
Takes out nice and early. She's got no pressure on her, but it's a super smooth takeout. Takes off down the wooden jetty. Certainly drawing a line in the sand in this heat. The next three are out, all easily enough. This is
Barrios the most comfortable with portages in that second group, but Anderson well away.
That's a great perspective of just how much of a lead she's got, and she really hasn't had to raise much of a sweat to get it either. She's
A little wobble there just as she took off.
Barrios,
Mann and Milliver.
oh, little twitch from Eva as well as she gets in.
Little glance over her shoulder there from Barrios, see where the others are. That's a quick top six check on her part. They're safe.
So there's Milliver, Mann, and Barrios in the trio making up the chasing pack.
And it's
Chasing.
Bedek and Johnson in fifth and sixth. Johnson just trying to make contact with Bedek, just out of sight for you guys. We can just see from our window here. And Johnson is going to make it back to Bedek and is going to be in that top six. Great news for her.
Just bear in mind, that's Anderson leading by about 50 meters. And then the three chasers. Well, not a chasing pack, it's probably a holding pack. That's probably a better description.
Fifth and sixth in shot there. And then it all gets a bit more stressful beyond that point. So Anderson, then Barrios, Milliver, and Mann, then Bedek and Johnson, then it's New Zealand's Doreen Kemp, Nina Riosa, and they're making sure that they're going hard enough to get one of the top 8 times outside of the top 6 places. Looks like Kemp might even make her way back to that group of 2 just in front of her. Turquoise boat of Riosa just behind her.
There'll be a spring in the step in the Kiwi camp from this result if they get both of their women through to the final.
Barrios and Milliver, second and third. Kemp, fourth. Oh, Rebecca Mann, sorry. What about Kemp's from New Zealand? She's further back, my mistake. Getting muddled up now with my Antipodeans.
Careful.
And that's 5, 6, and 7 there. One of those won't get automatic qualification, but I'm pretty sure they'll all get qualification of some sort.
It's going to be a handful of disappointed faces. Kemp trying to push the pace on this bunch just a little more. Probably mindful of the fact that time is going to be the factor that's more important than the position on this one.
Yeah, top of your shot there. Don't get confused. That's one of the men warming up for his heat in just a few moments. So Anderson across the line. 50 odd meters ahead of Barrios, Miliver and Mann. Seemingly no rush for the fight for 6th place. It's going to be Johnson anyway. And it's New Zealand's Doreen Kemp, who's going to be one of the fastest times for sure.
Yeah, you just
and
saw
she looks pretty pleased with that.
Kemp was acutely aware of the fact that she needed to bank every available spare second in that. She was going to be on the cusp.
So it's
Nina Riosa.
Then from Italy, it's Beatrice Candela. And from Argentina, it's Juliana Otero.
All on the bubble.
I think they'll all make it.
Yeah. Erland, who might be chewing fingernails a bit.
She might be. She's really good on the first leg up to the first turn. Maybe it just overcooked it for her just that little bit.
Barrios leads.
So that's Canoe-Kayak came across the line. Otero's our next one across the line. So Canoe-Kayak was 82. I called her Otero. 62, not 82. So boat 58 is Otero.
It's Otero. Along with Sarah Lockwood. And you can hear the whooping from the Kiwi support structures on the bank because time is going to be everything for these athletes. Watch this space.
And that's the end of the women's heats. And I'm sure as soon as we get confirmation of the finalists, we will let you know.
Next up, the first of the men's short course heats. Packed and stacked, it must be said. This one's going to be spicy. With Pimenta top of the pile here.
Pimenta
in the same
Pedersen,
race as Mads Pedersen.
Same heat.
Uli Hart's in there. You find the Belgian, Laurence Panakouk.
Kolos Vari in this one from Hungary as well. Some big names in this. Elvin Vold from Norway. He's always good on the short courses. That's going to be a good heat. They're just milling around beyond the start line as we speak. We'll bring you that start as it happens. For now, we'll just take a little cup of tea, I think, Dave.
Cup of tea, do like a good cup of tea. Stop the war in Ukraine with the grandpa.
Each group that comes through far right on the other side has definitely got an advantage because we're coming neck to neck.
I think, yeah, it's just perspective. Okay, so the Sharks are circling before the men's K1 Heat 1. Pimenta to the right of his shot. Lawrence Panakouk in the dark green boat of Belgium. This is a really stacked heat. Big names across the board. Pimenta, James Russell, Uli Hart, Mads Pedersen, Kolos Vari from Hungary, Elvin Vold from Norway, and they're just the headline ones. Then the others are no slouches either. It's a tough old heat to get top 6, but a great heat to get some of the fastest times.
And it's the same deal. First 6 get automatic qualification. And then from the 2 heats, the next 8 fastest. That's the man. Stacked in the lanes at the top of the course.
18 boats on the line.
And it's underway.
Only 6 away by right. About 6 down from the top. Fast away. Not sure who that is. But it's everything to play for. Canoe-Kayak from Argentina in there. Elvin Vold, red nose on his boat. Pedersen in the middle.
Uli Hart with the
Pimenta.
blue nose on his boat. Great start for the young South African.
Making a run for Pimenta. James Russell to Pimenta's left. Slovakian making a run for that V, and I think he's going to make
Pedersen deciding that he's going to take the group up the right. There's 2 different groups forming here. This is interesting. Predictably enough, it's Pimenta and Pedersen.
Pimenta getting the best of it at the moment. He's going to come across in front. Pedersen a long way to go to get across, and he's not going to make the side of Pimenta. He's going to have to slot in behind these front 4. James Russell working hard, but effectively on the outside of Pimenta, and that is his ride to the front. Nice lane draw for him. He's had to drop round the back of Pimenta and come up his left at some point. We didn't really see that, but he's obviously done it well. James Russell trains in the massive training group up at Nottingham Kayak Club, along with many other the team members in the Great Britain team. So Pedersen did get across to Pimenta's side. I'm not sure who he cut off to get there. But it's Pimenta, Pedersen, Russell, Vold, Hart.
The Argentinian Canoe-Kayak is there as well.
And then a little bit of chaos in the back wash there.
Ooh. Little bit of buoy nudging in rush hour congestion at the top turn.
That's that Hungarian boat, Kolosvari, the white boat, 4 from the back of that group, who was just struggling to get in contention. And now he's back and comfortable. So Pimenta, top quality.
Yeah, he's become one of the benchmarks, particularly over this distance. Russell will be super pleased to be there. Hart will be
He's
delighted.
been there and thereabouts for a long time now, Russell.
Pedersen.
He's made himself a fixture, especially in these short courses. Slovakian there, still in the game. Milan Dorna. Panakuk making contact again. Garakachea, Kolosvari. The Italian, Matteo Vittor.
Filip Jahora of the Czech Republic making up the back of that group.
And making heavy work of it too at the back of that group.
Great looking graphic, that. Pay money to watch that fight anywhere in the world.
Is that Clinton Cook in the orange boat from South Africa?
So
Clinton Cook must be busting to go around the side of James Russell there, but the speed probably just too high to allow it. And Clinton Cook's going to hope there's a little bit of space for him, just moving up a little. He's going to have to call it in a minute and drop back behind James Russell. There he goes.
big bunch, and that's
now-
Pedersen. Pedersen
now-
goes big.
No,
Pimenta.
Pimenta going for it. Cook's in all sorts of trouble because of the check to his
Oh.
right. Has given him a hard time. That wasn't Cook's fault. He's still in the game. We've got a swimmer on the far side.
Oh, somebody's
Not
out.
sure who that is. I think it was the German Janis Werner. We'll get confirmation
Yeah,
of
it is
that.
Werner. Into the portage. Pimenta comes left. Mads Pedersen goes right.
Pedersen, the better of the two portages. He's up and away already.
Russell goes past Pedersen. Longer run. Uli Hart's immediately behind them.
Russell out nicely.
But it's Mats Pedersen who leads them
Definitely in
into
the
the
game.
portage. Pimenta just behind him with Russell.
Russell's going to get past Pimenta on the run, I think. Pedersen looking comfortable at the front. Hart just behind them, also in no danger at all. Pedersen first to put the boat down, then Russell. They're both away. Pimenta slightly slower, but still in the game. And those three are away. Hats off to Clinton Cook through that whole process.
Yeah. Cook needs to find Uli Hart, who's his compatriot just in front of him.
Cook now going out with Vold on the far side in that red-tipped boat to try and get back in contact with that front four. But these look like the first six at the moment. There's also Kolosvari just out of shot. There's the white boat for Kolosvari.
Yep.
He's just taken Cook off the side of the sidewash of Vold. Cook goes round to the left.
Just flicked off like an annoying fly.
So that's your top seven.
Mats
It was-
Pedersen comes through the portage. Quick on the takeout, first down the chute. Crowd whooping him on as you would expect. Time for a
Yeah.
smile and a grin and making eye contact with people on the side. It speaks a lot of a man who's in good form, in a good place.
It does, and it's, you know, the difference between being struggling and being relaxed is such a fine line. You know, it doesn't take much before you're stressed enough for it not to be quite so funny anymore.
Yeah.
So we think we lost the German on the turn there. Pedersen, Russell has been beautifully organised through this whole thing. To be fair, he was very untroubled. He was to the left of Pimenta down that first leg, so no one to his left to hassle him. So in some ways an easy run down that first leg, but he put himself there, and he's top 4 and comfortably qualified as it stands. Pedersen slows down, Russell takes over the lead. Pimenta comes through. He'll come up the left of Russell in all probability, leaving the V for the South African Uli Hart.
Well,
There we
Janus
go.
Werner gets a taxi ride lift back to the shore from the officials' inflatable. Was certainly not the way he planned to end this race.
A little subliminal video of the women's
There he
finish
is.
there.
Still in shock, actually. Not getting much sympathy from the ITO, it must be said.
No, that ITO doesn't exude sympathy.
They're doing an incredible job here, but I guess you don't have to be mum, you need to be boat driver.
Yeah.
Vold. Just said that.
Vold and Cook, top 6.
Hart tucked in there as well.
And here's the swim. You're looking at the German in the sort of zigzaggy zebra boat, about 6th back. Gets his tail tapped there, but no damage done. And it's as he comes here, boom, no reason for him to go in. No hassle from, that's the Hungarian
He
Kolosvari
might
with
just
him.
have caught a paddle against the nose of that boat as
Potentially
it
it
came
was too
through.
far back for that, I think. I think it was just an error. Certainly no malice intended there.
Russell providing the machine in this convoy. Uli Hart's been sitting comfortably on that diamond for much of this race.
It's a well-organised race from him. One more portage, and that's going to be in about 45 seconds. And I don't think there'll be any motivation in these 4 to change the situation they've currently got.
The front 4 probably 50 meters clear. Clint Cook driving the following bunch of 3, coming into a shot on the right. As the lead group comes into the portage.
Portage 2. So we're going to have Pedersen go right. Russell, Pimenta will go left. And Hart has the choice. He's coming left also. Pimenta goes around Russell. Wants to arrive first. Russell goes early exit. Very tidy exit. Lucky not to touch his bow of the boat on the water there. He would have had a little moment, I'm sure, as that
Pedersen.
bow dropped down.
Pedersen cantering through, relaxed, composed, soaking up the moment. Russell, Pimenta, Hart, as they come through the portage. Pedersen, so smooth. Away clean, like he was last time.
Russell second in the boat, then Pimenta. Russell's got no intention of chasing down Pedersen at all.
Clint Cook, you'll see on your top right. He's got everything to gain if he can try and bridge across to where his teammate Uli Hart is. Catch a ride with the front 4 that's chasing Mads Pedersen.
Kolosvari got in his boat super quick there, leapfrogging Vold from Norway. All those 3 are going to go to the final, though.
Mads Pedersen, who I think is thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to paddle at home. Poster boy for the event, which in some ways puts
doesn't always
pressure on
end
you.
well, does it? It doesn't always
sometimes
end
that
well.
pressure of expectation is an unwanted
Yeah.
burden when you performing in front of your home crowd.
You look back to Ramalho back in Portugal, Ponta de Lima in whatever it was, 2019 maybe, and it all just collapsed around him with a bit of boat damage, and it was a tough call for him there.
Oh, and we've got some emptying going on down here. The yellow K1.
That'd be the USA.
It's going to cost seconds, which are going to be a factor in this race.
I think that's going to be a defining factor. There's too many people in front of him. So those front four couldn't exude a lack of motivation any greater than they're currently exuding.
We're just going through the
They
motions.
are just finishing the journey. The three behind them also know that they're safe.
To be fair, they've earned the right to
Yeah.
take the foot off the pedal.
So all seven of those will, without doubt, be in the final. 8, 9, and 10
Should be safe.
need to have a little bit more urgency, but should be safe also. And then beyond them, it begins to get a bit stressful. 20 boats, remember, make the final. The top 6 from each heat.
Willie Hart pulling Pimenta around the corner. Russell just behind him. Turned out to be a really desirable K2 partner as well. He's paired up with a couple of elite paddlers into a very successful K2 paddler. From a family of paddlers, his brother is Anders Hart, also a very competent paddler. Mum and dad are both committed paddlers and administrators of the game down in Cape Town. Clint Cook in the orange boat.
With Kolosvari and Vold. So pretty much routine stuff now. As they cross the line, it's going to be Pedersen across the line first.
As a young man who's played a profound part in the way that marathon has evolved over the last couple of years.
Yep.
Kicked down the barn doors. Remember when he arrived through the under-23s?
Yeah. In China, when he won the under-23s and then the senior. And what's amazing is that there'll be someone come along and kick down his barn door at some point. There's always someone coming.
Do it harder, faster, better. Raise the stakes.
You're only a guest at the top. That's what I've learned over the years. You're not a fixture, you're just a guest. So across the line. That is straight into Canoe-Kayak as he comes across the line. So we've got about 10 people over the line so far. So impressive on that one. Obviously, Pedersen, Hart, Pimenta, and James Russell, sorry. I liked...
Dan Cox crossing the line. Now that's in a wait-and-see mode.
Clinton Cook on that looked really well organised. He had a little bit of hassle on the bottom turn and managed it.
From a
really
time
well.
perspective, this race was far more concertinaed, so you might be further down the table here, but I think time-wise, that's good news.
This looks like the stronger of the two heats, to be fair.
Tim Muller of Switzerland, wondering, will I, won't I? Do I have to get back into these wet paddling shorts a little bit later? Philip Jahora of the Czech Republic. Bit of a burn going on here. Andrew Solis from Team USA. Burning the water with Jacob Chain from Team Canada.
It's going to be a big ask if they're going to get to the final.
Mikael Klimmel. he's the last of the athletes across. In the background there, you'll see on the sides of Lake Jelst those massive inflatable joists. Just part of these sideshow attractions here. It's for kids to climb on and have some fun. It's a bit of a chilly overcast day, but on the weekend we're expecting a lot of public attention down at Lake Jelst. And that's just one of the things that kids can do. There's a host of attractions scattered around this venue, from Viking games to food stalls to craft markets to SUP tryout venues, that inflatable. There's an absolute carnival that's been spread out by the organizers here. It's pretty impressive.
Just need the weather to clear a little bit to make some of those slightly more viable and slightly more attractive.
You've been wanting to jump on those joists all week. You walk past them every morning thinking, do you mind if I just...
So there's your results. Pedersen, Hart, Pimenta, Russell, they were all the safe ones. Volden, Cook, Kolosvari, also looking pretty good. After that, it's Panakuk, and then Garakachea, Cox, Vitor, and then I think we're struggling then maybe. So we're looking at 15...
Down to Muller, there's a minute, and I think that they can
15:40.
breathe. Yeah.
15:40 seems like a time to beat if you're in Heat 2. Now, I might have undersold Heat 2 because it's also quite stacked. Maybe not, we've got Balint No from Hungary, Paufler from Germany, Kippin from Australia. And we were watching Kippin train yesterday, and I didn't know who it was in the boat. And I saw him training. Who is that? Because he looks good. And when he came into Portage, we saw it's Josh Kippin, and he was looking super good. I think the best I've ever seen him. Romalo also in this one, along with Alonso and the other Vold brother, John. So I've got 7 certainties marked with pink pen to be in the top 6. Yep. The maths isn't good. But it's 7 are definitely going to be in the top 6. And then there's other ones in here also.
So there we go. Acuna Noe Paufler at Kippin, we were talking about. The Frenchman Urban, Pavlik, Janice Combi, Johnson, Romalo. Yeah, some big names on that sheet. This is going to be a star-studded front. Newland from New Zealand, Montanari, Zulig, Wyskovsky, Alonso, Martin, Sakai, John Vold, and Gigos.
So Urban from France, potentially the fastest in terms of top-end speed in here, according to the history. But I'm going for Josh Kippin. He was in a light green boat yesterday. Maybe that will show up on screen. That's New Zealand's Newlands we just saw. And they're on the line. Vold there in the white shirt. Quite literally head and shoulders above everyone else. He is a massive athlete.
Massimo Montanari, the Canadian, the 19-year-old, looking solid at the start.
So it's Urban on the far side. There's Romalo in the reverse fluorescent cap. Romalo's the one who goes to the front. Vold heading to his right. To Romalo's left, Matt Johnson made an awesome start in that blue-ended boat. Top of your screen there from Hungary, Balint No. Romalo.
It is Romalo who's running a rule over the front.
Johnson, Vold. Noah coming across. Urban in there, Bourdouin, Genies, also from France in the red boat, just struggling to make contact with that front group. This is going to fall fantastically for Johnson. He's going to be straight into that V, and that is as good as it gets.
Not just a V, the dream V.
Yep, that is beautiful. Argentina, 91 there with Acuna. Alonso, the Spaniard, to the right of Vold. Poland with Wiskowski also in there. Jokos, bottom of the screen from Japan via Hungary. Johnson in all sorts of trouble there.
It's tight around this top turn.
Just got pinballed back as the group came together. Does they go around the turn? Romalo, first round. Acuna, Martin, Vold, Noe, Urban.
Josh Kippen right in there, as you suspected. Genius.
So here we go. Romalo leads. Vold to his right. Noah to his left. Coming round the right-hand side isn't Alonso, it's the other Spaniard. It's Adrian Martin.
Quentin.
Which means that Alonso must be the one coming up on the left-hand side of the group here. So Martin trying to go round Vold. That's an expensive failure. Argentinian in the yellow boat making his way back to that group. Acuna. Urban in the white boat. Can I put out to the team leaders that if we all wear white shirts with red writing on the back, it's really difficult. So if Hungary could go back to being green, that would be really handy. France can go back to their multicoloured shirt, that would be handy. And just make our life that little bit easier. Alonso joins the group on the left of Noah. Johnson back in that group, coming up to the second V between Candy and Alonso.
Good course
management.
management.
It's been easy to do that. He's made it though.
Quentin Urban beautifully managing his race. He's been sitting on that diamond.
There goes Vold on the outside. He wants to come into the portage first. He's made his way round Romalo. This whole group will change. That won't please the people at the back who've only just... Oh, come on!
Oh!
So that was the Argentinian squeezing onto Johnson of Great Britain. Not an illegal squeeze by any means, but Johnson came off the worst. Now he's getting back in the game. There's the two of them in shot. Alonso, seemingly just a bit ragged, bit uncomfortable maybe in the black boat. Just off that front five.
Portage number one.
Out to the right goes Spaniard.
John
Adrian
Vold
Martin.
going left.
Noah going right. Romalo and Vold going left, along with the Frenchman, Candy. Urban, rather, not Candy.
Vold going long. Out super clean.
Up and running well. So, oh, at the front. Got his nose stuck the wrong side of the fence. I'm not sure who that was. I think it was Balint from Hungary. Alonso, the fifth boat now, hoping to make contact with the group. Then it's the Argentinian. But it's Vold away first with Romalo, with Urban, with the Spaniard. Oh, Alonso. So cool there. Came from nowhere. Oh, he hasn't quite made the front four, but that's quality right there. Quality and experience. He hasn't ended up with anything too good, but yeah, just brilliant. Just brilliant. Kippen in the green boat with the Argentinian. Then the Hungarian who made that schoolboy error at the get out. Johnson still in the hunt. Nice big wave behind the Hungarian there. I've got it. Okay, apologies to John Vold, who is officially Armand Vold. That's
it is. He's
a paperwork error there.
He did crop up on the entry list as John, but as you can see from the name on the side of his cockpit, it is Amundvold.
John on the graphic, Armand on the boat. There they come through the portage. You see Alonso.
Oh,
Just
so
getting
somebody...
his boat out there. That was the Hungarian there, I think, at the front, who went the wrong side of the post. But you can see how far Alonso is behind these four, and then he gets in with them.
Yeah.
So it's all slowed down a little bit at the front. Well, by a little bit, quite a lot. Vold dictating the pace.
Romalo,
Urban.
Quentin Urban.
The surprise, I guess, to us, probably not to the Spanish, who will know him a lot better than we do, is that Martin is there comfortably and up with Alonso. Acuna, Kippin, Ballant, no. Johnson still there at the back of that group. So an error like that at the portage, where you overrun the portage, so you have to lift over the fence at the end, is pretty much unforgivable, I would say, at this level. That's really amateur, and I think there will be a few words, I'm sure, from the coach of the team that did that.
It's an unforgivable training ground error because you've had more than enough time to drill that into your system before you get to race.
It's not like you're short of space on that pontoon. That is the biggest pontoon we've ever seen.
Your read on Josh Kippen, I think, is spot on. I think he's going to be full value in the long race.
Me too.
He's been around for at least 6 years at this level. He knows his game. And from what I hear from the team Oz Camp is that he is really focused on this. It's time to make a result stick here. He shrugged off the responsibility as a K2 paddler. He just said, leave me. I've got work to do. I don't know how much of a priority he would make the short course race, but watch the long course race.
I think almost a short course race for some of these guys. You know, you've got the ones who are the potential medalists, and it matters to them which medal they get. Mm-hmm. But for some of these, it's like it's your first view of the other people you're going to be racing later in the week. And it all adds up to the knowledge base. Ballant, no, going around the right of the group there, just moving up to the side of Urban. Bold leads still, though.
Amundvold.
France, Portugal, tucking in the back there, Kippin in the sort of mint green boat. Yellow for Argentina. On this side, Johnson still in the mix.
Josh Kippen has taken a leaf from some of the other successful elite paddlers and has been training with the French team.
Round goes Ballant, no, just stirring it up before the portage.
There he goes. There's Kippen trying to put a bit of heat into that bunch.
So Vold holds the lead. It's going to get very tight as they come together there. Alonso just having to give ground.
It's all tight and it's all fair.
Round the outside goes the other Spanish paddler, Martin. Very relaxed at the back there for Johnson. He's just got to stay in touch. It's Kippen who's making a bit of a hash.
He's
at the back there.
He's making work.
Out wide on his own, going to the right of the pontoon.
Amundvold going left, and he'll probably go long again. Out in the middle of the jetty. Super quick.
There's going to be no real change at the front here.
Pretty congested back in the middle.
Was that Vold having a look at the screen to see what was happening?
It's clever, actually. Rather than waste energy looking over your shoulder, catch the graphic as you go past the big screen. Amundvold in first. Romalo.
Vold, Romalo's
Alonso. Straight back onto the wave. Alonso's, yeah.
Martin in the back there, 387 on his chest. This time it's Alonso who gets the V. Martin coming round the outside to take off. Romalo from the side, push him back to the V, but Romalo, is he happy to do that? No, there goes Romalo. Romalo moving left to stop that move sticking and deciding that he'd rather have the comfort of leading. On the right-hand side, squashing Vold into the V is the Hungarian, no. Alonso has to go round the left of his compatriot, and he will take Martin back into the V and push Vold out of that V. And so the rotations begin. So Martin not challenged by Alonso. Romalo takes the lead. We've had our 2 portages. We're just coming down to the finish.
Couple of
Urban, comfortable. Vold, comfortable. Balint, no, at the back of that group.
And don't expect too many fireworks here. This is a settled and qualified group.
Then it's Kippin with Johnson and Acuna. I would think all safe for the final.
As a spit in a spot of rain arrives over Lac Jels.
And the wind picks up, which isn't very helpful. It's a headwind down the last 500 metres, which if you are borderline on time, probably isn't much of a comfort to you. But Romalo leads. Martin of Spain, it's been up the sharp end all the way through. Alonso from Spain to his left. Urban to the far side of Romalo. Vold in the V. And the Hungarian just behind.
Amund Vold can take something out of this. Certainly in the middle part of the race, he was a dominant character. And if you do want to make a mark going into the final, it's useful value to take away from the finish line.
Romalo happy to drop back into the V as the Frenchman comes round to his right. No, he's not. He's going back straight round the outside. I think there is some benefit to being seeded in this. I'm not sure. Presumably, are you seeded on position or time? Does anyone know? Quick ask around the commentary box. Nobody knew the answer to that
one. A lot
one.
of blank faces.
But there's definitely a bit of excitement in this. There's a bit of intent still. Hungary going left, Portugal going right. The 2 Spaniards with the Norwegian in the middle. Urban going out to run with Romalo. We're coming down. It's going to be Spain, Portugal, Hungary, France, and Norway. That's your top 6. Everyone else fighting for times. It's Kippin, the first of those times. He'll be in the final for sure, along with Johnson, who did a great race. Behind him, Genies from France, Acuna from Argentina, and from Germany, Marcel Paufler. Jokos from Japan, and the Czech paddler, Matus Pavlik. All fairly close to the leaders, all with a legitimate claim to be in those top 8 fastest times.
Kudos, Adrian Martin.
Yep, I think certainly from my point of view as a commentator, I wouldn't have. He wasn't in my highlighter list at the start. Put it that way. The Spanish will obviously know a lot more about him than we do, and may have expected him to be there. But yep, he definitely set his stall out there.
In a field that includes Alonso, to come and take the win here is no mean feat.
Alonso, Romalo, Urban would have been on your list to be ahead of him for sure.
Zulig in the Swiss colours. Wajskowski for Poland. and combi for Italy.
So we get a little break now, during which we can have lunch
Sweet pancake time.
and maybe that sweet pancake that's been promised for so long by Dave, yet never delivered.
Just wondering if we can shamelessly punt towards the street food. I mean, we've been lamenting
I think
the lack
everybody
of sweet
should go
pancake.
to the street food tent who's on site and support the local vendors for lunch.
Make Lawless Day and ferry up a sweet pancake to the commentary box.
You can see the raindrops on the camera lens.
Montanari finishing for Canada.
Pretty sure the rain's going to be coming and going all afternoon now. Not heavy rain, just light spotting. And
Massimo Montanari, a second-year student at Toronto Varsity. So clubmates at Burla Canoe Club in Oakville, Ontario will be cheering him on every step of the way.
so we will be back for the C1 Junior Men long course as our first event of the afternoon. Until then, we'll say goodbye from a very scenic Lake Jels in Denmark. Thank the athletes this morning for some quality racing, and I'm sure we'll do some more later on today, not only with the C1 long course, but we should have some finals in the short courses as well to bring you. So goodbye from both of us. We'll see you soon.